The third is you have executive authority. In our view, the Philippines, if it wants to encourage foreign direct investment, must minimize the restrictions and must choose the most flexible means of restrictions to allow change to respond to changes in technology, to changes in foreign investors' expectations, and to change in response to international competition of what other countries are doing. So you must be flexible. Our position is quite simple. We believe, in fact, that the best position would be to delete the economic provision, all of them from the Constitution, and reset this in laws approved by the Congress. If that is not possible, we support the position that is basically taken in the resolutions.
Palagi ko, 37 years na ito. Tama ba ang aking mathematics? 37 years, mga kababayan ko, hindi na po siguro kulang yun. Binigyan na natin ng pagkakataon. Lahat po ng klase ng batas na pwedeng gawin ng mga katulad kong mambabatas, ginawa na nila para iangat ang ating ekonomiya. Wala naman pong nangyari sa 37 years. Ito na lang po yung nag-iisa na solusyon. Wala na po. Sige po, kung meron tatayo dyan at sasabihin niya na meron pa siyang solusyon para tayo makaangat, sige nga, ipaliwanag mo nga sa akin yan. Hindi lang po dapat tayo umasa lang sa domestic sources at capital sa mga pinakamayayamang family conglomerates para gawin at punuan ang puhunan at kapital na pangangailangan ng ating ekonomiya. Dahil ito po ay hindi sapat at kulang na kulang. Ito po yung sinasabi ko. Binigay na natin lahat ang pagkakataon sa mga local nating businessman. 37 years, ibinigay na namin sa inyo. Nagpaka-patriotic tayo. Sinarado natin ng ating investment sa inyo. Ang tanong, gumanda ba buhay ng ating mga kababayan? Yung 8% ng ating mga kababayan na umaasa sa magandang trabaho, magandang sweldo, pag-unlad, nangyari ba sa 37 years? Goodness gracious, no. Sir, that is English, Mr. Julian Payne. I hope you understand my English there, sir. Kung makikita po natin, ang ating bansa ay biniyaan ng sapat na likas na yaman at mga kabataan at bihasang manggagawa. Sila po ay hindi magkaroon ng makahulugang kontribusyon sa ating bansa para sa ating pag-unlad dahil sa pangangailangan ng malakihang kapital. Hindi po natin mapakinabangan ang ating human resources at ang ating natural resources para mapaunlad natin ang ating bansa sa kadahilanan na mayroong limitasyon ang ating konstitusyon. Kailan po ba tayo kikilos? Kailan po? Kailan po? Kaya, mga mahal kong kababayan, umpisahan na po natin ang ating diskusyon at ito po ay maririnig po natin ang iba't ibang boses ng ating mga resource persons. Napakahalaga po ng kanilang boses. Alam nyo, mga mahal kong kababayan, ito pong pagdinig na ito, hindi po ito sa kapakinabangan ko, kapakinabangan ng Senado, kapakinabangan ng Kamara, ng mababang kapulungan, o kapakinabangan ng ating mga resource person. Ito pong pagdinig na to, ang makikinabang po dito, yung mga ordinaryong Pilipino. Dahil sa loob ng 37 years, ang nakinabang dyan, na economic provision na yan ng paghigpit, ay 20% lamang po ng populasyon ng Pilipinas. May mga mas yumaman pa, mayaman na, mas yumaman pa. Yung mga mahirap, mas humirap. Kaya panahon na po, mga mahal kong kababayan, napakinggan naman po natin itong ating mga resource speaker at sila na po ang magpaliwanag kung ano po ang pwede nating gawin. Ngayon, sa usapin po muna, ang issue po ngayon ay ang pagtatalo. Pasensya na po kayo, talaga mga politiko, hindi na mawala ang pagtatalo. Hindi yata kami mabubuhay ng walang pagtatalo. Kung ano pong moda, ano bang mode? Mga kababayan ko, nanonood sa inyong mga telebisyon, ano daw po bang moda ang pwede namin gawin para baguhin o amendahan ang saligang batas? Meron pong nagsasabi na Constitutional Assembly. Ako po yun. Meron pong nagsasabi na Constitutional Convention. Ngayon, tatanungin po natin, kasi lagi po ako nagpapaliwanag patungkol dyan. Lagi naman may nagsasabi, hindi naman abogado yan si Robin Padilla. O sige, magtatanong po tayo ngayon sa abogado. Ang atin pong unang tanong ay para po kay Attorney Yula Pertubos Arias ng Jose Maria College of Law. Ito po, sa akin pong unang araw sa Kongreso, tama, sa mataas na kapulungan, ako po hindi pinatulog ng aking staff. Yan yung apat na yan. Nakikita niyo po yan. Pinahirapan po ako niyan. Binigyan ako libro ng konstitusyon. Basahin mo yan. Ito po yung sinulat ni Father Bernas. Opo. At mula po doon sa libro na yun, malinaw eh. 3 ang sinabi para magkaroon ng amenda o revision ng konstitusyon. Sabi doon, pwedeng constitutional convention, pwedeng constitutional assembly, o dadalhin mo sa taong bayan, people's initiative. Yan. Ngayon, ang tanong ko po sa inyo, ang proseso po na sinabi din ni Chief Justice Panganiban, sabi niya, ang mungkahi niya para amenda ng saligang batas ay maaaring gawin sa parehas na paraan. Ang sabi niya, para naman po sa inyong tanong, kung atin pong aamendahan ang saligang batas, ano po ba dapat ang pinakamainam? Kasi sa inyo po, neutral kayo eh. Alam ko, neutral kayo. Ako po, sa Senado, con-as, sila, con-con. Ano po ba talaga ang pinakamakatwiran na moda? Con-as o con-con?
Good morning po, Senator, and to everyone present. So, again, here, the question posed by Senator Robin, our good senator, whether it is con-con or con-as. So, basically, the People's Initiative is already out of the table because based on the previous discussions, it's almost impossible. Logistically, impossible siya, and budget constraints as well. So, medyo out of the table na ang People's Initiative. But for between the con-con and the con-as, me as a lawyer, and my personal belief also, Senator Robin, is that we should opt for the Constitutional Convention. Why? Because in the Constitutional Convention, we have the participation of the people. Whereas when we say con-as, the Constituent Assembly, it's just the Congress. And for me, the amendment, the process of proposing an amendment to the Constitution, it's a very big, it will be a big part of our history. So from the very onset, we have to make it right. We have to have people's participation in proposing amendments. How can they participate? Of course, in Constitutional Convention, people will vote for their delegate, who will be their delegate to the Constitutional Convention. So that's one thing that is not present in the CONAS. In the CONAS, it's just the Congress, yung sabi pa nga in the previous discussions, that it's just the Congress changing ng sombrero, kumbaga. So they will act now as a constitutional assembly instead of being the Congress itself. So why also con-con? Because we have to put some sense of or some level of integrity when we say in proposing amendments, in the process of proposing amendments. Why? Because let's face it, the people has a certain level of distrust in the politicians. Kahit ngayon nga masyado ng maugong, na why would the Congress be the one to propose amendments? That's why if we have people's participation, we can have a certain level of integrity to the process of proposing amendment. Also, why con-con is that it will be a learning process, an educational process for the people. Hopefully, during the process, they will become more politically mature as well. So it's a win-win situation for both the government, the state in proposing amendment, as well as to the people. So that's why we say that it should be by way of con-con. Yun po.
Napakaliwanag ng pagpapaliwanag ni attorney. May itatanong lang po ako kasi palagay niyo po ba para lang po dun sa economic provision, pag-amyenda nun, kailangan po natin ng con-con? Kasi pag con-con po kasi, explain ko lang po, para mas, mga mahal kong kababayan. Una, bago ko po sabihin ito, gusto ko pong malaman ninyo na si Robin Padilla po, ang akin pong campaign na slogan, kasama po ang PDP Laban. Ako po ay PDP Laban, ano. Ako po talaga, kahit na ako'y pigain ninyo, ang kakatas po sa akin talaga, kon-kon. Yan po talaga ang gusto ko. Kaya lang, ipinipilit ko po na makumbinsi ang ating mga kababayan at ibang mambabatas na con-us. Sapagkat, pag sa con-con, alam ko po kung sasang-ayon po si Attorney Yula Arias, mabubuksan ng buong konstitusyon. Pagka nabuksan po ang buong konstitusyon, maraming mababago kasama na po ang political structure. Sangayon po ba kayo doon, Attorney?
For the question po, Senator Robin, I think hindi naman po necessary na ma-open up po lahat ng structure in the...
Pwede po, pwedeng mangyari. Pagka
Yes.
nagkaroon tayo ng con-con, pwede po ba mangyari, Attorney, na buksan nila lahat? Makokontrol po ba natin ang delegates kung ano yung gusto nilang gawin?
Yan po, that's one of the sides no na pwede nating tingnan if magiging ano na siya. Kumbaga marami silang pwedeng baguhin, i-introduce.
Na gusto naman natin. Kailangan,
Yes.
kailangan maintindihan mo, Attorney, gusto ko yun, ha? Mabago ang political structure, ha? Gusto ko yun. Dahil para sa akin, isang problema yan ng bayan natin, yung struktura na yun. Pero napapanahon po ba na isabay natin yung economic provision sa political structure? Yun lang po, para lang po sa akin, hindi po ba hahaba ang diskusyon kasi kung economic provision, pwede natin tapusin yun kahit 3 buwan. Nakita ko po yan sa Senado eh. Kung gusto nilang may maipasang batas, kabilis. Kung gusto naman nilang upuan, mauupuan ho talaga. Ang tanong ko po, sa pinakamabilis na paraan, ano po kaya ang pinakamabilis na paraan? Ma'am, huwag mong sabihin na, baka sabihin mo, pinipilit kitang con-us o ano. Gusto ko, ma'am, sabihin mo yung totoo. Sa palagay mo, ma'am, saan mas mabilis papasa ang economic provision?
Definitely, con-us po, mas madali siya because number one, we will not have time we will do away with the time for the people to vote for their delegate. Parang diretso na siya, Congress, no, to be the one to propose amendments. So we will cut off a certain period of time for that. So mas mabilis po ang con-us. And regarding po sa inyong concern, no, I think, syempre, if we include the political side no na provisions, syempre po mas hahaba din ang discussion on that. And ano na lang po, maybe we have I remember the words of Senator Pimentel, no, if we opt for con-us, let's just make sure that it will be transparent to the people, because at the end of the day, yun naman po talaga ang importante, that the people knows, that the people are aware, and all what's happening during the proposal, the people has transparent ang government when it comes to proposing the amendments. So yun, I think the con-us, of course, it is doable, and it's a lot faster, kumbaga. But on the other side po, on the other side of the spectrum, no, let's say, again, yung sabi ko po kanina, it's one of the most historic. This will become a big part of our history. So, people's participation is really essential, no? Because let me just also quote, no, mahilig mag-quote, quote. One of the in one case, no, it's Gonzales, no, versus Comelec. It says that it's said there, no, that when the Congress proposes amendments, they do so under the power under the Constitution. But if the people will exercise that right, no, the right to propose amendment, its power does not emanate from the Constitution, because the power is the people themselves. So it's the people themselves, including the Constitution. So yun po yung hugot doon sa CONCON. Thank you, Senator.
Napakaganda po, mga mahal kong kababayan na nanonood po sa inyong mga online. Napakaganda po nung sinabi ng ating attorney. Ang lahat ng ito ay para po sa inyo. Dapat yun po ang ating tandaan palagi. Hindi po dapat makinabang dito kung constitutional assemblyman o constitutional convention. Hindi po dapat makinabang dito ang politiko. Ang dapat nakinabang dito ay ang taong bayan. Ma'am, thank you very much. Tatanungin naman po natin ang NEDA. Babalikan ko po kayo. NEDA.
Yes. Yes, Senator.
Ma'am, opo, meron po akong nabasa nung isang araw, 2 days ago ba yun? Sabi po ng NEDA, kung magkano ang aabutin kapag tayo po ay nagkaroon ng konkon. Mayroon po kayong, nabasa ko po yun sa dyaryo. Magkano po bang aabutin pag konkon? Ma'am Uy, Crystal Uy, napakaganda naman po ng inyong pangalan, Crystal.
Thank you, Senator. Actually, we have prepared internal estimates that we presented during one of the House hearings. So for the Constitutional Convention, ang initial estimate po namin is around 28 billion. However, we note that there is a new draft bill that has passed second reading at the House. So nire-refine po namin yung computations namin based on that on that particular bill. So baka bumaba po yung cost for a CONCON.
From 28 billion, bumaba po ng ilan?
Mga I think based on nire-refine po namin, so we'll submit the formal computation, but I think it will be around 14 billion.
Opo. Okay. Halimbawa po, ma'am, sa Constitutional Assembly, hindi na po tayo magkakaroon ng eleksyon, hindi na po tayo magkakaroon ng babayaran yung sweldo nila, opisina nila, transportation, food allowance, alam nyo naman yan, kasama lahat yan Kung CONAS po, magkano po kaya ang aabutin?
Well, Senator, it will be significantly lower. So I don't have the figures for a CONAS right now because we're still finalizing the computation. But malaki yung discrepancy kasi so for our initial computation, even that, malaki yung discrepancy, parang more than 10 billion yung difference from a CONCON to a CONAS. So we will expect that it will be significantly reduced.
Wow! Maraming salamat po, Ma'am Crystal Uy. Nadinig po natin yun, Talagang malaki ang bawas kapag Constitutional Assembly. Ma'am, maraming salamat po. Balikan po namin kayo mamaya. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Balik po ako kay attorney. Ma'am, attorney,
Yes, pa.
ang sabi po kasi, halimbawa lang po, sabi nila, pagka CONAS, ang laki kasing usapin nito. Di ba po, kung voting separately o voting jointly. Ma'am, ano po ba ang sa palagay ninyo dapat? Kasi hindi po malinaw sa konstitusyon ano nga po yan isang artikulo na isinulat ng isang magaling na manunulat at mula sa dugo ni Presidente Manuel L. Quezon. Sinabi niya na talagang hindi malinaw sa konstitusyon. Ano po ba dapat? Jointly o separately pag bumoto?
The ideal po, Senator Robin, is because bicameral po kasi ang ating Congress. So we have to respect the houses, each of the houses. So it would be more ideal to have them join voting separately, Kasi po yun nga, we have to respect also kung ano yung decision ng each houses. Yun po.
So separately. Napalagay niyo po dapat, Kasi alam niyo po may mga istorya nung araw na kapag may gusto ng charter change, medyo nagkakaroon ng problema pagdating dyan. Kasi nga naman po, kung voting, pag nagsama, tagulugin ko na, mag-English. Pagka bumoto po kasi ng paghihiwalay, mga kababayan, mas pabor sa Senado. Kasi ang senador 24 lang. Ang Congress ngayon, nasa 316 ba? Parang ganyan. So talo kami. Sa butuhan, talo na kagad kami. Ano magagawa ng 24? Kaya po, ang pinakamainam na sinasabi ay yung bumoto ng hiwalay. Bumoto ang Kongreso, bumoto ng ang baba at mataas na kapulungan. Sa palagay niyo po ba, ma'am, pwede yon sa konstitusyon?
The Constitution po itself, yung 3/4 votes, it's not clear po kasi. So, hindi siya specifically provided whether voting jointly or voting separately. So, the Congress, has a little bit of a leeway, whether to interpret it as voting jointly or, the state has a way to interpret it whether voting jointly ba or voting separately. But for now po talaga, it's not really clear, Even the mga discussions po ng mga professors natin, natin, it's not clear. The Constitution itself is not clear. So, yun nga po, it can be interpreted as voting jointly or as voting separately.
Napakaganda, ma'am. Sa konstitusyon po natin, malinaw di ba po, ang nag-iisang pwedeng mag-interpret ng saligang batas ay ang Supreme Court. Tama po ba?
Yes po.
Opo. Ang sabi po ng Chief Justice Panganiban, sabi niya, malinaw po yung sinabi niya, dapat magkaroon ng voting separately. Yun po ba pwede natin panghawakan na yun? Yung sinabi po ng isang justice?
It can be, Sir Senator Robino, but it's not the court. It's not the Supreme Court decision. It's medyo ano ha. It's just one justice who said that. But the point here po kasi magiging law of the land siya if it's the Supreme Court itself that made the decision. No, that is the source of right, the source of kumbaga law na yun siya. However, if it's just one justice or parang opinion lang po ng isang justice, no, it cannot be po parang a basis. But of course, no, we have also to listen also to those justices' opinions nila. It can also be parang
Basis.
a way of basis, but really not to the effect na magiging law po siya. Ganun.
Okay, maraming salamat. So, pwede po natin yung basihan. Basis lang, basis.
Sort of a basis po,
Opo,
but
kasi
not a legal
hindi kasi
basis.
malinaw yung konstitusyon.
Yes. It can be a basis po, Senator, but not really a legal
Opo.
basis.
Pwede po bang maging problema to, attorney? Halimbawa, pwede po bang, nagkasundo, nag-constitutional assembly, nag-voting separately. Pwede po bang questionin ito ng Supreme Court?
Actually, yes. If someone questions it and brings it before the court, of course, pwede po yan siyang maging subject of inquiry, subject of question.
So, paano po yun? Sa inyo lang po ito, ha? Ano lang po ito, attorney, ha? Maganda, parang edukasyon ko, edukasyon din ng mga nanonood. Yung People's Initiative na ginawa ni Presidente Fidel Ramos at ginawa din po ni Presidente Gloria Macapagal Arroyo, yan po ay nagkabali-baliktad dahil sa Supreme Court. Naalala niyo po ba yun? Decision din ng Supreme Court po yan na hindi nila tinanggap. Parehas po yun. Yung pirma, dalawa yun pirma...
Opo, medyo, yes, anybody po naman, no, can
Question, di ba?
Yes.
Opo. Yun po ang nangyari. Inaano ko lang po yung tatlong moda. People's Initiative na disgrasya sa Supreme Court. So, itong CONAS, sabi niyo po, pwedeng madisgrasya din.
Ang CONAS po, pwede din po in a sense, wala naman po talagang perfectly safe, perfectly na process. Every process po will always be subject for questioning. So kahit CONAS po yan siya or CONCON, it will always be subject of questioning. Especially so if meron talagang gustong mag-question.
Okay, maganda
Yes
po yan, ha? Maganda yan. Ibig niyo pong sabihin, doon po ba sa nakalagay sa konstitusyon pagdating sa CONCON? Sa CONCON po ba, meron din po ba silalagay doon na pwedeng questionin ng Supreme Court?
For the CONCON itself,
Sabi lang po doon, basta 2/3.
Opo, actually po, the Congress itself, no, during the conduct of the CONCON, can implement a rule, no? Just like the 1971 Constitutional Convention.
Sila yung gumawa ng guidelines.
Po, gumawa ng guidelines, di ba po? So may mga rules doon that should be followed. For example, may prohibition.
Eleksyon, kung
Yes,
kung
po.
ilang distrito, yung mga...
Yes.
Kung ngayon, pinaano nila yung hybrid.
Yes. So, the Congress, no, pwede naman po silang gumawa ng another, parang ganun po, yung rule governing the Constitutional Convention. If we opt for Constitutional Convention, they can come up with, again, no, the rule, just like the 1971 Constitutional Convention, which can also be, of course, no, yun yung ifa-follow natin during the Constitutional Convention.
Pero yun po, pwede pa din bang questionin yun ng Supreme Court?
Not the Supreme Court itself po, but some people, no, kung merong antay doon sa Constitutional Convention, of course, always
Pwede
po,
pa din?
Pwede.
Pero doon po sa dalawa, doon sa CONCON, saka sa CONAS, sa palagay nyo, sino yung dalawa doon ang pwedeng malamang ma-question ng Supreme Court? Yung voting separately o voting jointly o yung paggawa lang ng guidelines? Sa CONCON kasi, yung paggawa lang ng guidelines po, di ba, ang pwede nilang questionin.
Always po subject for questioning ang both, no. We cannot dismiss, we cannot say that parang foolproof na itong CONCON or foolproof itong CONAS. There will always be questions po regarding the conduct of both ways of how to propose amendments. So, yun po, it's not really foolproof, both of them.
Okay. Maraming salamat po, ma'am. Nasagot mo yung tanong ko.
Thank you.
Thank you po. Meron po akong ano pa uli. Para po sa NEDA uli, ma'am Crystal. Sorry po, ma'am, ha? Kasi babagsak at babagsak tayo sa budget, ma'am, eh. Opo, kung isasabay po ang barangay elections sa plebisito, magkano po nga abutin kaya nun? Meron na po ba kayong pag-aaral?
Siguro, Senator, I'll just base it from our initial computation because that's what I have right now. So, if it's a separate national election and national plebiscite for a CONCON, it's 28 billion as I said. But if sasabay po siya sa national election and plebiscite held simultaneously with the next barangay or national elections, it's around 331 million for CONCON. For CONAS, if it's a separate national plebiscite, it's at 13.8 billion. But if it's going to be held simultaneously with the next barangay or national elections, it's only 30 million.
Magkano po? Sa
30
CONAS?
million. 30 million.
Maraming salamat, ma'am. It's crystal clear. Thank you po. Ma'am, maraming salamat po, attorney. Lipat naman po ako sa atin pong Minda. Ma'am, meron lang po akong... Ma'am, bumupali. Opo. Ma'am Minda, sa Minda, nais pong malaman ng committee ito kung meron po bang foreign investors ngayon sa Mindanao na pumapasok?
Yes po, Senator.
Meron po. Opo. Ilan po? Marami po ba?
We will still have to check our database po, but that is one of the mandate of Mindan. We're seeing to it po.
Mag-encourage. Ano
Yes.
po, hindi po ba sila, kamusta po ang kanilang ang kanilang pagtanggap doon sa ating kahigpitan sa konstitusyon? Hindi po ba sila nagkakaroon ng minsan ng mga pagbubukas ng kanilang damdamin sa inyo patungkol dito?
Yes po, Senator, no. Whenever we enter into agreements or partnerships with these corporations, madalas po tinatanong yung mga ganon, but then we still reply that that is the Constitution and we are bound to that po.
Na sumunod?
Yes po.
Pero concern talaga nila?
Yes po. Iyan yung restrictions, yung madalas po. That's why sometimes nahihirapan silang pumasok.
Yun. Ma'am, pwede po bang malaman sa datos po ninyo kung magkano na ang foreign investment dito sa Minda?
We will get back to you po that in a few minutes po, sir. So we will ask po our contemporaries ko.
Opo. Pero ano po ba ito? Yearly, lumalaki po ba? O may pagkakataon na katulad ng pandemya, bumaba?
Compared to local investors po, very low po talaga ang sa foreign investments when it comes to Mindanao po.
Opo. Sa palagay niyo po ba, ma'am, may pwedeng makaapekto ng maganda kung magkakaroon po ng pag-amyenda sa economic provision ng saligang batas at magkaroon po tayo ng flexibility? Sa tingin niyo po ba tataas ang foreign investment sa Mindanao?
Minda po, sir, no, affirms its support for policies and laws that will enhance the socio-economic development of Mindanao while ensuring peace and maintaining its economic and environmental political integrity. So we will also look into the impact of those proposed amendments, sir, vis-a-vis yung mga recent laws passed such as Public Service Act, Foreign Investments Act, Amended Retail Trade Liberalization Act, and Create Law. And ano po yung impact nun sa Mindanao vis-a-vis yung proposed amendments to the Constitution, especially the economic provisions po. But we ask to the details po and to the data, we will get back to you po, good Senator.
Okay, marami. So, ano po kayo? Payag kayo? Ang Minda, bukas para sa foreign investors?
Sir, we are still in the process of reviewing it po, so we are still yet to submit our official position paper on the matter po.
Okay po, okay po. Pero sa tingin niyo po ba, sa opinion niyo po, katulad po ng ibang mga lugar sa Asia, ito lang po yung halimbawa po, sa tourism. Sa tourism, kapag meron po bang, kasi Mindanao, alam niyo naman po, last frontier ang tawag sa atin, ano? Ito yung pinakamaganda sa lahat. Halimbawa po, tayo ay medyo lumuwag ang ating saligang batas sa foreign investor. Malulugi po ba ang local investors dito?
Not necessarily po. So, for the development of all industries, especially in Mindanao po, yan po makakabuti, and it's within the constitutional framework, it's within the bounds of law, then that would be okay po, sir.
Maraming salamat po, ma'am. Napakahalaga po na nakakuha namin ng opinion po ninyo.
Thank you po. Thank you po, good senator.
Ay po. Sabihin mo lang, ma'am, kung kailan natin itong i-acknowledge yan, ha? Tatanong ito, medyo Englishan na ito. Sir, you are the most important visitor now because this concerns you, the foreigners. But I guess you are here for 20 plus years?
Yes.
Exactly 19, you were here 19...
I arrived here in 1994.
1994. So, but of course, 1994 is very close to 1987. So you have also the background of the previous administration before the administration of President Cory Aquino, and then that time, President Fidel Ramos.
Yes, my first visit in the Philippines was in 1989 when I was Vice President of the Canadian International Development Agency, responsible for Asia and the Pacific.
So you have a very clear view of the Philippine business and politics.
I wouldn't overemphasize the clarity. I have a view and some long-time experience in witnessing the challenges you faced in attracting foreign direct investment over the years.
That is what I want to hear, sir. Because, you know, there is a lot of talk that, well, we see the data. I gave the data. And it is very clear that the Philippines is right now in the 83 economies in the world. The Philippines is number 3 among the countries who have very restrictive laws regarding foreign investors. Do you think this really affects our economy?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. If I may make some general comments. First of all, thank you for inviting me here. It's a pleasure and an honor to discuss these matters with the committee. I also would like to say it's a great pleasure to be here in Davao City and Mindanao, because there's no region in the whole country which needs more foreign direct investment. And I think it's very symbolic that you had your first outside meeting here in Mindanao. Second comment I'd make is briefly that foreign direct investment is not just dollars. It's also transfer of technology, and it's also the establishment of businesses which lead to international trade. So we must not measure foreign direct investment solely in terms of dollars. The third thing I'd like to make a point is that, first of all, to make it clear, I'm representing the 7 chambers member of the Joint Foreign Chambers of Commerce, the American, Australian, New Zealand, Canadian, European, Japanese, Korean, and Primary. And together,
Seven chambers of commerce,
Yeah.
7 countries. Wow, sir.
7,
Thank you very much for joining us.
And these chambers together represent over 3,000 companies in the Philippines. They cover about, I think the figure is $300 billion worth of trade and $30 billion worth of foreign direct investment when you combine them all. When we look at foreign direct investment, certainly in the last Congress, there have been some dramatic improvements. And I would like to say the Public Service Act amendments, I would like to say the Foreign Investment Act, and also the Retail Sales Liberalization Act. And also at the administrative level, the administration has clarified the definition of natural resources, which has enabled more foreign direct investments in renewable resources. So I think we should give credit where credit is due to the past Congress and to the administration for what has been done. But these are just first steps. When we look at our interest in constitutional amendment is solely on the economic provisions. It's inappropriate for us to discuss anything else. So I would just discuss that. When we look at foreign direct investment coming, any restrictions will reduce the amount of FDI. That's axiomatic, and that is true for any country. However, all countries have some restrictions to protect their vital economic interests, and the Philippines is not an exception nor the sole one. Canada does the same thing. The there's two critical questions that I think you have to answer. Is what are the minimum restrictions that you need to protect vital interests? And the more restrictions you have, the less FDI you will have coming. There is the argument that if you have restriction in one sector, the FDI will go to another sector. Not true. A mining company will want to invest in mining, and if you don't allow it, it will invest it someplace else like Chile or Indonesia. So foreign direct investment is not fungible necessarily between sectors. That's the first thing you have to realize when you have sectorial restrictions. The second issue is, regardless of what the sector is, the world moves quickly today. And one of the things we have to focus on is how do we amend restrictions? If they're in the Constitution, in any country, that is a slow, cumbersome, and difficult process. Not just the Philippines, it's also in my own country. The second thing is you have laws, and the third is you have executive authority. In our view, the Philippines, if it wants to encourage foreign direct investment, must minimize the restrictions and must choose the most flexible means of restrictions to allow change to respond to changes in technology, to changes in foreign investors' expectations, and to change in response to international competition of what other countries are doing. So you must be flexible. Our position is quite simple. We believe, in fact, that the best position would be to delete the economic provision, all of them from the Constitution, and reset this in laws approved by the Congress. If that is not possible, we support the position that is basically taken in the resolutions, that you should add, unless otherwise provided by law, to each and every one of the economic provisions. The position of the Joint Foreign Chambers of Commerce was given in very comprehensive detail to the previous Congress, and I've tabled with the Secretary, and I table here today that position, which is a 9-page document, which I won't read because it'll put you all to sleep. I do have a formal statement. I will table that also. But the bottom line is that the position of the Joint Foreign Chambers of Commerce is, if you want to increase foreign direct investment for transfer for dollars, for transfer of technology, for future trade, then you should minimize the restrictions and you should choose a means where it's able to adjust it very quickly and very flexibly to rapidly changing external conditions. And therefore, our position, in summary, basically, you should delete them from the Constitution. If that is not possible for any reason, then you should adopt the approach taken in the resolutions before this committee, which is to add unless otherwise provided by law. Thank you very much. I'd be pleased to answer any questions. Thank you. Salamat po.
Salamat po. Thank you very much, Mr. Julian Payne. That was a very clear picture. Mga mahal kong kababayan, napakaganda po nung sinabi ng ating dayuhang bisita. Napakaliwanag po ng sinabi niya na ang ibang bansa, hindi lang po kapitbahay natin dito sa buong mundo. Meron naman po talagang may mga patakaran, may nagre-restrict din naman, sabi niya. Hindi naman po pwede na walang restriction. Pati nga daw Canada may restriction Pero hindi po pwede na yung sa konstitusyon natin halos lahat to hindi na sumasabay sa takbo ng panahon. Ang linaw po ng sinabi niya na dapat ang konstitusyon sumasabay ka sa takbo ng panahon. At ang panahon ngayon, globalization na nga Ano na tayo ngayon Dapat sumabay na tayo kung ano yung ekonomiya na tumatakbo sa buong mundo. At yung nasa konstitusyon natin, hindi po siya makasabay. Kaya nga po sabi niya, i-delete na lang nyo yan. Kung hindi nyo kayang tanggalin yan, ang linaw nung sinabi niya, i-adapt nyo yung resolution natin. Ano ba yung resolution natin? Ang linaw po. Doon sa resolution natin, unless otherwise provided by law. Ibig pong sabihin, ilagay natin sa konstitusyon na ang pagluluwag ng ating ekonomiya, pero ang mga mambabatas ang gagawa po ng paraan para maproteksyonan din yung ating interes. Yun po. Napakalinaw po na yan po ay galing na sa siya po ay nagre-representa ng 7 Chamber of Commerce ng buong mundo. May United States, may Australia, may Japan, at ibang bansa pa, Canada. Alam nyo, mga kababayan, magpasalamat po tayo sa dayuhan na bisita natin sapagkat galing pa po yan ng Maynila, pumunta dito para magmalasakit po sa atin at ipaliwanag sa atin kung saan tayo nagkukulang. Mga kababayan, hindi po pagtataksil sa bayan ang pagbubukas ng foreign investment. Hindi po. Yan po ay ginagawa na ng maraming bansa. At ang linaw po ng sinabi niya, kayo pa rin ang masusunod. Tayo pa rin ang masusunod. Kailangan lang flexible po tayo. Sir, I have one question. One more question. As you mentioned it a while ago, there were laws passed by the 18th Congress. That was the Foreign Investment and the RTLA and the Public Service Act. But there is one law, the Public Service Act, which was passed by our very good and very beautiful and very courageous Senator Grace Poe. But unfortunately, Public Service Act for almost 1 year, the IRR has not been released by the executive. And there is one, I think, not more than one group has filed a case against this law. They're saying that this is unconstitutional. So, sir, do you think it will be beneficial? I just wanted to be clear because we just said it a while ago that we need to amend the law. I just want to hear it clearly again, sir. Do you think these laws that was passed by the 18th Congress, it will be more with substance if we will amend the economic provision in the Constitution? Will these laws be more useful to us if we will amend the economic provision in the Constitution?
Thank you for that question, Mr. Chairman. I'm not a lawyer, but first of all, I would like to give credit to the administration for very quickly approving the IRR for the Retail Sales Act legislation. That was done very quickly, and I think we should give credit to the administration for that. The second thing on the IRR for the Public Service Act amendments, the problem here is that this covers a number of departments. So I think NEDA has a big challenge on this, and this is an issue. To answer your direct question, obviously, if the economic provision that relates to that were deleted, or if it was amended to say unless otherwise provided by law, then that would solve a problem. Does that answer your question?
Yes, sir. The word that will solve the problem. It is very clear that there is a problem. Until we amend this law, there will always be a problem. Like yes, sir. Yes, Mr. Julian. Yes.
Maybe I should reword that an issue. It's a legal issue that's going to go before the courts. But if the law was amended or the provisions were deleted, then the issue would no longer, I don't think, exist, although that might also be challenged. But you would have to consult with a lawyer like that, like my colleague and friend over here.
Thank you, Mr. Julian Payne. Ayun, ang liwanag po, ano, mga mahal na kababayan. Siya na po ang nagsabi na kapag hindi natin naamendahan yung konstitusyon, palaging magkakaroon ng legal question. Kaya po ibinato niya kay attorney. Sapagkat, alam nyo mga kababayan, katulad po nung nangyari, alam naman po siguro ni Attorney Yula Arias, meron pong isang desisyon ng Supreme Court na sinasabi niya na yung oil exploration ng China sana at ng Pilipinas ay sinabi nila na hindi pwede. Bawal. Kasi sabi ng konstitusyon. So mga mahal kong kababayan, bilyon na po ang nawala sa atin doon. Bilyon. Dapat tayo nakikinabang doon, pero hindi tayo nakinabang dahil sa konstitusyon natin. Sir, thank you very much for your information. And actually, you are educating us. Thank you very much, sir. Ma'am attorney, tinuro ka niya kanina Magpupinyon ka naman, hindi man ako abogado Tama ba ang sinabi niya, Ma'am Attorney Arias, na laging magkakaroon ng legal question hanggat hindi natin mababago ang saligang batas?
Yes, that yung sinabi po ni Mr. Pino, that's really correct also, no? Kasi because instead of the Constitution being a parang protection, it becomes a hindrance, no? So, yun, maybe if we will go through the economic provisions of the Constitution and, liberalize these restrictive provisions in the Constitution, then of course we can encourage more FDIs coming to the Philippines. No, na iibahin natin yung paradigm kumbaga ng Philippines. Instead of being too restrictive, we have to set it to become more welcoming to the foreign investments, which is actually what is the trend now, no, in Southeast Asian countries. So parang nahuhuli na din ang Philippines in that sense. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Sir, Mr. Julian Payne, sir, of course, it is obvious that legal battle will always be the concern of our foreign investors. Have you ever encountered this kind of problem, legal battles, when it comes to foreign investment? Well, not you precisely, but among your colleagues? Is that also their concern?
I'm not aware of a specific legal issue, but I'm sure there are some. Some of it relates to interpretation. For example, the issue of the IRR for natural resources, which was recently clarified by the Department of Justice. But I would like to make a point. There's a difference between the issue of what the restrictions are and the flexibility. You could, in fact, have even more serious restrictions passed by law than the Constitution. The issue of transferring from the Constitution to individual law is it gives the Congress the flexibility to respond year by year to change in conditions, external conditions, changes in technology, changes within the country, and changes of the interests of the country. That is the fundamental issue. And there's two different issues. One is the degree of restrictions, which can vary depending on what your vital issues are. And the second is the ability to respond and adjust. And that's where you get into the hardcore issue of whether it should be in the Constitution or it should be in a specific law approved by Congress or in an executive order. So there are two fundamentally different questions here that you have to address. Thank you. The legal issue is a separate one. And that's an issue of clarity in the law and so on. And that I leave to lawyers to talk about.
Thank you very much, Mr. Julian Payne. Yun po, mga kababayan, ang linaw po, Ang sinasabi niya, siyempre, ang saligang batas, yan po yung pinakamataas na batas, Kaya po, ang gusto natin, malagay natin doon yung unless otherwise provided by law. Yun po yung sinasabi niya. Kapag yun na ilagay natin sa saligang batas, ngayon, magkakaroon na po ng kalayaan ang inyong mga mambabatas na gumawa ng batas para po tayo ay maka-adjust sa takbo ng panahon. Kung ano ang hinihingi ng panahon. Magkaroon ng flexibility. Kasi ang nangyari po ngayon, sinabi ng saligang batas na ito, restrictive tayo, ito lang tayo. Wala na po tayong magawa. Lahat na lang ng ginagawa natin, band-aid na lang po. Yun po ang problema. Hindi po dapat tayo masanay sa band-aid solution. Kung meron naman pong isang solusyon talaga, na yun na yung direktahan natin at yun po yung amendahan natin yung saligang batas ng unless otherwise provided by law para magkaroon po ng kalayaan yung anyong mga mambabatas na gumawa ng mga batas na sasabay sa takbo ng panahon. Sir, thank you very much. Ngayon po, pupunta naman po tayo sa Huwag po kayong antukin, ha? Nako, mga mahal kong kababayan. Para po sa Davao Chamber of Commerce, Mr. John Carlo B. Tria. Sir, alam naman po natin, pag ako'y tinatanong, lagi kong sinasabi, ine-example ang Davao. Yan ang lagi kong kung merong dapat mabigyan ng, kung hindi man federalism ang mangyari sa atin, kung merong mga dapat mabigyan ng autonomiya, lagi kong kasi sa konstitusyon natin, dalawa lang ang may autonomiya, CAR at ang BARM. Pero lagi ko pong sinasabi, at nagpasa din po ng panukala dyan, ang ginagalang natin na Senator Chis Escudero, lagi niyang sinasabi na dapat magkaroon ng maraming autonomiya. At ang lagi kong sinasabi, Davao. Kasi ang Davao, kita naman nyo ang progress, ang pag-unlad ng Davao. Sir, ang tanong ko po, makakatulong po ba sa pag-unlad ng Davao ang pagkakaroon ng pagluluwag sa foreign investment?
Sa lahat, magandang umaga po sa lahat ng aming mga kasama dito sa komite, sa kagalang-galang na senador, Padilla and Tolentino, magandang umaga po sa lahat. Nagpapasalamat po kami sa pagkakataon upang makabahagi dito sa inyong butihing komite. Maraming salamat po, Senator Padilla, sa inyong pagtatangkilik sa aming lungsod. Kami po ay lubos na nagagalak sa inyong mga binigkas kanina. Bilang Pangulo ng Kamara ng Komersyo at Industriya dito sa lungsod ng Davao, aming hangarin, 10 ng aking mga kasama sa Board of Trustees, ang stable at malakas na ekonomiya, lalo na sa harap ng mga pagsubok na ating pong kinakaharap. Dahil dito, in principle, naniniwala po kami na ang pagluluwag ng ganitong mga restrictions ay lubos na makakapagparami po ng mga investors dito sa Davao. Lalong-lalo na sa mga nagdaang mga aktibidad po namin tulad ng Davao Investment Conference noong 2021, 2019 at sa darating na Hulyo ngayong taong pong ito at maging sa Davao Agri-Trade Expo. Lumalakas po yung interest po dito sa aming lungsod at sa buong isla ng Mindanao. Kung kaya dahil dito, naniniwala po kami na ang pagbubukas, lalong-lalo na kung inyo pong mamarapatin, meron po kaming 4 na focus area na kung saan ang pagluluwag ay magbibigay ng mas maraming interest at mas maraming investment. Lalong-lalo na pagdating sa agro-processing. Alam naman po natin, ang Davao Region at ang isla ng Mindanao ay ating food basket. Kaya ang pagpoproseso po ng mga produktong ito at ang pagpapasok po ng maraming investment dito ay lubos na makakapagpayabong po ng ganitong sektor. Ikalawa po ang logistics. Bilang isang kamera, matagal na po naming minumungkahi na ipawalang visa po ang cabotage law. Dahil sa palagay po namin, ang batas po na ito, halimbawa, ay nagpapahirap po ng pagtatransport ng aming mga produkto, lalong-lalo na sa ibang mga rehiyon ng Pilipinas na nangangailangan ng aming mga produkto tulad ng pagkain. Ikatatlo po yung manufacturing. Dahil marami din pong produkto dito sa Davao na hindi po pagkain, ngunit nangangailangan po kami. Halimbawa, wala pong mga gumagawa ng sabon dito sa buong isla ng Mindanao. Lahat po yan na ini-import pa po namin sa Metro Manila at Cebu. At ang ika-4 po ay ang pagluluwag sa sektor ng edukasyon. Pagkat naniniwala po kami na ang pagpapataas ng antas ng kaalaman at skills ng amin pong mga mamamayan ay bagay na mas makakapagdala din po ng mas maraming teknolohiya at investment. Naniniwala po kami na yung mga nagdaang mga reforma tulad ng Create Law, ng Amended Foreign Investment Act at Public Service Act at ang iba pang mga reforma tulad ng Innovation Law and Innovative Startup Act, ito po ay makakapagpalakas ng lokal na ekonomiya. Kung kaya isang mungkahi lang po sana ang nais po naming ibahagi na kung maaari po ay magkaroon ng legislative oversight sa mga ahensyang nagpapatupad ng mga reformang ito. Lalong-lalo na kung ang mga reformang ito ay nakakapagpadala ng mga investments dito po sa Mindanao. Dahil naniniwala kami na ang ekonomiya po ng aming mga anak ang aming tinatrabaho. Maraming salamat po.
Napakalinaw po nung napakamakabayan po nung inyong ibinigay na para po sa akin kasi napakasarap pakinggan nung sinabi ninyo. Kasi tumatama po lahat yan doon sa konstitusyon din, yung marketing, lahat Lahat po yun kasi may kinalaman doon. Parang ang dating sa akin, kulang ng investor tayo sa mga usapin na yun. Yung po sa shipping, naniniwala po ba kayo na kapag binuksan natin, kasi doon sa Republic Act na sinasabi nyo, exclusive yan sa local. Pag ito'y binuksan natin sa foreigner, mumura ba?
sa palagay po namin, pag mas marami pong makakapagpadala, ibababa po yung presyo. Yun po yung isang suliranin po ng maraming mga kasapi po namin.
Naniniwala po kayo na nagkaroon ng manipulya? Ganun?
Hindi ko po masasabi kung may monopolya, pero kung tatanungin ko lang yung aking mga miyembro, daing po nila yung mataas na cost.
Opo, meron po akong nabasa niyan eh. Matagal na eh. Parang kalahati yata tayo eh. Mas mataas yung ating shipping ano. Nabasa ko yun eh. Hindi ko lang alam kung kailan. Pasensya na kayo, 53 na ako eh. Pero nabasa ko yan na parang halos kalahati. Halos kalahati yung presyo ng ating shipping. Mataas yung atin. Yung sa ibang bansa eh parang kalahati eh. Hindi ko lang matandaan kung magkano by the dollar eh. Nabasa ko yun eh. Basta kalahati. Kalahati. Tatanungin ko po yung katabi niyo po. Babalikan ko po kayo ha. Mr. John Gaisano Jr. Sir, bilang kayo po ay nasa kayo po ay nasa JGH Trading Incorporated at kayo po ay board member ng Davao City Chamber of Commerce. Sir, sa palagay niyo po ba nagkakaroon po ba ng manipulyo? Pagka yung katulad po niyan, halimbawa, sinabi natin kanina na yung sa shipping po, binigay natin local. At ito po'y mapapatunayan. Nabasa ko po talaga yon, hindi ako pwedeng magkamali. Na yung sa shipping natin, doble ang presyo natin kesa sa ibang bansa. Palagay niyo po ba, ano po ito? Bakit po ganun? Ba't pagdating sa atin ay mataas ang shipping?
I cannot explain to you. I don't want to explain to you the reason. Two of my relatives is married to somebody in the shipping line.
Okay.
But I'll tell you that from Singapore to Davao or China to Davao, it's a whole lot cheaper than Manila to Davao.
Oh, wow.
Yes. Okay, and it's kind of difficult to say that may monopoly o wala. Well, monopoly means one. Pwede naman pag-usapan nila eh. Di ba? I don't want to speak.
Yes, sir. Naintindihan ko po. Pasensya na po kayo. Hindi ko alam na... Opo.
I want to make a comment. The way our discussion is going, it's as if it's all or nothing. It's either you remove or you make it easier for the foreigner to invest. Obviously, if I'm Mr. Payne, but I'm not, no? If I'm Mr. Payne, representing the foreign investor, ano pang gusto nila? E di itanggal majority, if not all, of the restriction. But my thinking is that if I'm a foreign investment, when do I want to come to Philippines? Kung malaki ang market and the Filipino businessmen are small and I can beat them. Diba? If you do that, you know that the small, micro, and medium-scale businessman compose 99% of the total businessmen in the Philippines. Are we going to compromise our people for them to enter? No. But do we need foreign direct investment? Yes. But it's not all industry. Which one do you want to focus on? Those that are monopoly or duopoly? Diba? And for all, hindi din. So, alam mo, kung telecommunication, kung dalawa lang nandyan, we are not matagal, mahal. If you compare worldwide.
Nakalimutan niyo po yung mabagal.
Diba kanina, tingnan mo, nakaproblema ka sa internet.
Opo.
Oh, kung meron ng ikatlo, ikaapat na kalaban, mabilis na internet, mas mura pa.
Opo.
Diba?
So, ano po kayo, sir, parang pabor po kayo na madami para mas magumanda ang serbisyo.
Yes, but then we have to choose the industry that will not compromise the life of our people, the cost of living, employment, and the security of our country. How would you like to have one airline owned by American or the Chinese or one country? That's very dangerous for us, isn't it? Or telecommunication. Problema naman natin telecommunication, dalawa lang sila, and the local Filipino cannot compete with them. They are so big. So yun ang problema natin. How much are we going to allow the foreign investor to come to challenge them so that will bring down the cost for our people? Diba? So we have to choose the industry. So hindi pwede lahatan. That will be dangerous.
Opo. Yun, doon naman po pumapasok, sir, yung sinabi kanina ni Mr. Julian Payne, na doon po pumapasok yung unless otherwise provided by law. Diyan na po magkakaroon ng flexibility yung ating mga mambabatas para proteksyonan. Sila po yung gagawa ng safeguard para po yung ating mga businessman din, local businessman, ay maproteksyonan. Kayo po ba, sir, Mr. John Gaisano, sa tingin niyo po ba, meron po kasi nagsabi, na nabasa ko rin po sa libro ito, no? Sabi ng libro, na the more na may capital na pumapasok, the more na may pag-asa yung mga businessman. Totoo po ba yun?
Hindi masyadong klaro yun. What do you mean by the
Opo,
more...
ibig sabihin, meron pong puhunan. May puhunan na pumasok. Ibig pong sabihin, marami ang mga magninegosyo na makikinabang doon sa puhunan na yon na pumasok sa ating bansa. Sa ngayon daw po kasi, ang Pilipinas, kulang tayo sa puhunan. At yung mga namumuhunan, kung meron mang namumuhunan, ay pili.
One possible entry is when they buy publicly listed company by putting more money, that will enable our Filipino company to grow with more, kasi yung capital, pag in-invest nila, wala naman interest ko. They go up and down depending on the profit of the company. So, hindi din pwede lahatan din yun. Di ba?
Opo.
But we should not forget, the micro, small, and medium scale is 99% of all the business. Di ba? Yung mga palagi nakita mo sa newspaper, sino mang sila? There are probably only 10 or 15 of them. I will not like to measure. Alam naman natin eh.
Opo, opo.
Diba? Hala, Krupong, di ba? Rason.
Huwag niyo na po
By the way, I just want to make one comment.
Opo.
Okay. I'm not an economist, but I talked to a number of economists in the last 30 plus years. Do you like to see a 10% economic growth but is coming from 20 companies? Or do you like to see economic growth that's not 10% but 5%, but it comes from 99% of the Filipino, micro, small, and medium scale? If I'm the president of the Philippines, I will favor the Filipino, the majority and not the minority. It's not even minority, pare ilan naman bilang mo. With your finger, di ba? Yun ang palagi nag-abroad.
Opo, totoo po yan. Napakaganda po. Yan din po yung sa panimulang natin kanina, pahayag, na nakakalungkot nga po talaga, Dahil sa katunayan, ilang porsyento lang ng mga pamilya ang nagkokontrol ng ekonomiya ng Pilipinas. At sana po dumating ang panahon na sinasabi ninyo na yung 80% ay makinabang diyan sa ekonomiya na yan. Totoo po yung sinabi ninyo. Ngayon, bilang panghuling tanong po sa inyo, Sir John, kayo po ba'y naniniwala na makakatulong ang pag-aamyenda ng economic provision sa saligang batas?
Kung tama yung amendments, kung di tama, it will favor the foreigner compromising the Filipino, hindi. But if we allow foreign direct investment on a specific industry that will benefit our people, providing employment, reduce cost of living because my competition mas mababa ang cost, then that is good. But it should not compromise the security of our country.
Opo,
I
opo.
think that should never be compromised.
Opo. Naniniwala po ba kayo, Sir John, na yung pong ginawa ng Singapore, yung ginawa ng Vietnam, yung ginawa ng China, ngayon Indonesia, Malaysia, nakakatuwa po. Sa tingin niyo po ba, yung ganung klase ng kasi po sila, meron po silang percentage pa rin hanggang ngayon, may 100%, katulad po ng Indonesia, 100%, kailangan kanila yung media. Yung ganun po yun po ibig niyo sabihin sa mga may dapat pagdating dito sa lupa, ganito, pagdating dito sa ganitong negosyo, ganito ang porsyento. Sa tingin niyo po ba pag kahit paano ganun din ang ginawa natin sa ginawa nila kung paano nila proteksyonan din yung kanila, pwede po ba yon sa palagay po ninyo?
It's not just the law. It's who are the political leader and the structure of their government. In China, we always talk about presidency. But you know that in the Chinese government, sa mainland, ang dami mga engineer and scientists. And for somebody to ever become a president, they have to rise from the rank. Diba? I'm not saying na mali yung sa atin, pero yung sa atin, mayor bigla maging president, pwede. Okay naman, kahit Duterte naman tayo, di ba? Pero when you think about it, they do not rise from the rank. Di ba? And there is no performance evaluation. Now, you're talking about the laws. Is that okay or not? Singapore, iba naman ang the way they rule their government nila. Iba naman ang China, iba-iba namang ibang bansa. So it has to be looked at totality.
Nako. So parang sinasabi niyo po, Sir John, ang gusto po ninyo ay kasama na natin ang political structure. So hindi, maganda po ito, magandang talakayan to. Ang sinasabi niyo po, Sir John, na kailangan ang partner ng pag-amenda ng economic provision ay pag-amenda na rin sa political structure ng ating bansa.
It is a must. Because after all, those going to implement the law. Kasama sila, lawmaker, the executive branch, di ba? Lahat yun, including our justice
Ano po
system.
ba ang tanong last na lang po itong question. Last question na lang po ito kasi meron isang kailangan na siyang sandali lang po gusto ko pong pakilala yung atin pong idol kong senador pagdating sa serbisyo. Ang kanyang bisyo ay magserbisyo. Senator Bongo. Senator Bongo, mabuhay po. Senator? Babalikan po natin si Senator Bongo. Pero nandyan na po siya. Alam nyo naman, pagdating po sa lalo na yung binuksan po ni Sir John na baguhin natin ang struktura ng political po natin. Alam nyo naman, pagka ganyan, nakikita ko dito si Ma'am Astra, talagang gusto nang tumayo kanina pa. Ano po bang palagay ninyo ang magandang forma ng ating gobyerno? Ito po bang presidential form of government o parliamentary po ba? Kasi nabanggit niyo po kanina ay Singapore. Parliamentary sila.
You know,
Kasi alam niyo po, sabi niyo ang ganda ng linaw Sabi niyo kanina, sa ibang bansa, kahit sa China, they rose from the ranks. So ibig sabihin, yung party, matibay yung party system. Kapag matibay ang party system, you do not vote for the personality. You vote for the party. Parang ganun po ba yung gusto niyo pong sabihin?
you know, the implication of what you say is that the form of government will determine the kind of government we will have, meaning our country will prosper because of the form of government. But that's not really the case. Because after all, any kind of government, if we have the right people, then we will succeed. So a dictator which we do not like, but it can be a dictator who will live on the whole country. No? But then, people are generally selfish. So what is a safer course? Diba? So we are going from where we are, and we think that we can improve it. Can we go from this transition to the other? Yun ang mahirap. However, this one I can say, I've met with many mayors. There are some mayors who are terrible, but I met with a few mayors who are really good. And they spend so little to win an election because they will laugh. Why? Because they never wanted to be the mayor for many years. And then when they did a survey, they found out they are so popular because they're always helping. And they run and they won with almost no expense. These are the kind of people we need for our country. Diba?
Maraming salamat po. Natuwa naman ako kasi ako po ay, alhamdulillah, praise God, nanalo po ako ng, wala naman po akong masyadong ginastos. Allahu Akbar. Maraming salamat po. Salamat po. Balikan ko po kayo mamaya, Sir John. Meron lang po tayong isang si Dr. Raul Fabella. Siya po ay National Scientist and Economist, National Academy ng Science and Technology. Sir, magandang umaga po, patanghali. Sir? Sir Dr. Raul Fabella? Nandyan po ba kayo? Ito na po yung sinasabi nyo, sir. Malamang internet itong nararanasan natin ngayon. Dahil kanina, nandun si Senator Bongo. Ngayon naman, si Doc Raul Fabella. Ayan. Babalikan po natin mamaya. Ma'am Astra, tatalon ako sa iyo. Kasi, ang ganda nung sinabi ni Sir John Gaisano. Ang ganda-ganda po nung paliwanag niya na kung ating bubuksan ang saligang batas, ba't naman yung economic provision lang? Dapat kasama na yung istruktura. Si Ma'am Astrabel Naik po, ay kasama ko po siya sa PDP Laban, katulad ng aking sinabi. Siya po ay former undersecretary at ngayon po ay siya po ang nangangasiwa sa PDP Laban. Ma'am, ano po ang opinion po ninyo sa sinabi po ni Sir John na kung babaguhin natin, ay amendahin, isama na natin yung struktura.
Thank you very much, Your Honor, and good morning again to everybody. So like you, hindi rin ako natulog kasi inimbitahan mo ako. So I wanted to make sure that I will be able to express what I wanted to say, no? So, at napakagandang dugtungan yung sinabi ni Sir John. So, for me, Senator, having nakaikot na po tayo almost all over the country, for the 3 decades that I've been with PDP Laban and the longest serving membership committee chairperson of the party. And for me, sa assessment ko po, the best method to amend or revise the Constitution is through a constitutional convention rather than a constitutional assembly. A lot of times already, the Chacha has been proposed by Congress but has never seen green light, as the mode for the amendment proposed has always been Constitutional Assembly or CONAS, which is contrary to the proposal of legal luminaries and most especially by the people. The consensus, even in previous Congresses, committee hearings and committee hearings and public hearings have always been to go for the Constitutional Convention. Repeatedly, Congress failed to listen to the voice of the people, which has in effect repeatedly resulted to our failure to amend or revise the 1987 Constitution. Today, we have a population of more than 113 million Filipinos. Your Honor, don't you believe that our people deserve a wider participation in crafting our Constitution for everyone's benefit? Can Congress not respect the people's clamor that they will be given the right to elect delegates to propose amendments or even revise the Constitution? As you have said, the world has radically changed, but our Constitution remains in its present defective and emotional form. Your Honor, I am sure you have taken time to review the proceedings of previous Congresses on the issue of charter change. It has been the consensus that a high percentage of our people distrust Constitutional Assembly because it is highly related to partisan politics and the advancement of self-interest among politicians and their patrons or the oligarchs. In fact, the current bills that we are discussing actually is a reflection of the very fear of the people. Why so? Number one, CONAS as the means to amend the Constitution wherein the future of more than 113 million Filipino people is placed upon the hands of only 3/4 of 338 politicians, or roughly 254 members of both houses of Congress. Second, the bills filed will only advance for the amendment of the economic provisions of the 1987 Constitution, which actually enunciates the very fear of the people that CONAS only advances the pockets of the rich. Around 80% of the members of Congress belong to political dynasties, and there is empirical evidence that suggests that most of those who will now comprise the CONAS will have conflicted interest. Your Honor, the crafting stage of our Constitution is the baseline of the totality of this exercise. We should not compromise the quality of the future of our country and our people by hastily doing the amendment of the Constitution through CONAS. The brilliance of this country is not dependent only to 254 people. Ang kinang ng bansang Pilipinas ay nakalatag sa kakayahan nating magkaisa anumang propesyon o antas sa lipunan upang baguhin ang salitang batas na nakita na natin na maraming pagkukulang. Our shared vision for better future must emanate from the people. Naalala ko, Senator Robin, sa unang-unang committee hearing mo, sinabi mo na yung mga nakaraan 338 politicians are self-appointing themselves to become the drafters of the amendment of the Constitution. Nakakalungkot po pakinggan, Mr. Senator, whether
So there is an island under this to the American. We bought from them. We bought from that American, and we have petition that record to have it answered. No, it's 100% all my son. I'm a repository profession. I know that the island is not suitable for agriculture because of the terrain, no? But the white is all around. Now, I don't want to establish a sense of pride of our family, but sense of pride as a Filipino, you want to have a world class. How do you develop a world class? Assuming that the big time which is happening dyan, develop, do they have a network, world market, mahirap yan. The late Antonio Florento, I used to talk to him, he said, don't touch that. I developed per farm, I sunk into a lot of money, but I lost money for 15 years kasi wala akong access sa world tourist market until they got from a foreigner, a Fuego, who accepted me to travel into the world. They, under management for 5 years, nakaroon na network. But they are also wise after 5 years, they go on their own. Ngayon, ang per farm right now, you can hardly what you call that reserve. It's only 6 months ahead. Now, I try to move because I'm also a real estate broker. I cannot network with the Philippines. The real estate broker here, ibang thinking mind eh. I try to network with a foreign country. They do not call themselves as real estate broker. They call real estate management consultant. They look all over the world who would like to invest on the island. The question is always that 60-40 talo sila. Kasi if they will have to sink in a lot of money, siyempre, negosyante, they think of return of investment, no? So I said I cannot do anything because our constitution said you can only own 40%. But I was also thinking of the interest of us Filipino. I don't want to lose the island. So what will I do? Maybe to adjust a little of as an attraction to them. Maybe not for 60-40. The worst is that if it is not the reverse of 40% I own 60. The worst is 50-50%. Yun ang aking point. So those are things that practical. But going back to this, yung papakuta mo dito, we have a very limited time because we are targeting that under this administration, matatapos na yung how to make this country will progress faster. Kasi right now, we have a big problem. It's not the fault of President Duterte because pandemic. A lot of money has been sunk into a lot of things like yung vaccine, yung administration fund to the poor. So, paano yun, no? Now, if we want to touch yung idealistic way of discussion, walang katapusan yan. I'm very sure it will take a long time. Then your public hearing today, it will end up nothing.
Po, bago po kayo balikan, Ma'am Astra. Maraming salamat po. So sa inyo po, gusto nyo 50-50. Mas makakatulong sa inyo yung 50-50. Sa inyo po, yung sinabi niyo po kanina, kung 50-50 sana yung nandun sa Constitution, malago na kayo, sana.
I was thinking 50-50, I will have a condition. They can be the president to handle it, but the chairman of the board and the treasurer must be a Filipino.
Okay po. Okay. Salamat po, Sir Sebastian Angliongto. Sir, kayo din po ay nasa tourism. Councilor Sunny Larorias ng Island Garden City of Samal. Sangayon po ba kayo sa sinabi ni Sir Sebastian patungkol po na nagkakaroon ng epekto dahil doon sa 60-40, nawawalan kayo ng investor?
Hello. Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, Senator Robin Padilla. So unang-una, hindi ako abogado. Ako po ay isang apo lamang ng isang mangingisda sa Samal. So tumakbo po ako ng konsehal kasi ang ano ko lang is para makatulong, especially sa mga masa. So bilang isang anak ng isang co-founder ng PDP, ako po ay regarding sa tourism is ang side ko kasi is kung saan tayo pwede makakatulong regarding doon sa CONCON or CONAS, kasi kung doon tayo sa CONCON para mapabor sa ating lahat, sa karamihan, doon po ako susuporta. Dito naman sa mga kasamahan ko, ito yung mga original na apostoles ng aking ama, mga PDP, original talaga since 1980s. So kasama ko kayo.
Apostoles po ang tawag nyo, apostoles.
Mga apostoles talaga. Sila yung mga original talaga na kasama ng papa ko sa PDP.
Opo, kayo po, Councilor, bali naniniwala po kayo na makakatulong ang foreign investment sa Samal?
Yes sir, exactly. Kasi yun naman ang main namin sa Samal. So kailangan talaga na
Bakit po? Para i-develop kayo? Para i-develop po ang Samal o para pumasok po ang turista? Sir?
Yes sir. Actually, para makapasok yung turista at the same time, marami ring matutulungan sa Samal Island.
Opo, sa palagay niyo po, hindi sapat yung local investor para ma-develop kayo at mabuksan?
Yes sir. So kailangan talaga na mag-expand.
Opo, pero payag po ba kayo sa sinabi ni Sir Sebastian na 50-50?
Depende kasi sir.
Saan po nakadepende? Saan po nakadepende yan? Halimbawa, katulad po sa kanya, maaaring sila presidente, pero kayo may hawak ng kaban.
Siguro, meron kasi kaming example sir, yung Ekran Berhad sa Samal. So siguro ibibigay ko sa kasama ko, siya yung mas experience regarding sa Ekran Berhad ng history.
Opo, sir, pwede po namin makakuha po yung pangalan po ninyo at ano po ang inyong, saan po kayong grupo?
Ako po yung taga Samal. Ako po si Gilbert Rosit. Kasama kami ni Chris Lanoria sa PDP noon hanggang ngayon. At saka meron kaming mga initiative sa partido na sana yung mga initiative namin mapatungo o mapag-usapan siguro sa executive committee sana sa partido. Ang partido kasi may malaking may malaking role sa pagbalangkas ng constitution. Pag maigi ang yung pulong-pulong mismo sa partido. Balikan yung yung unang yung makakatulong ba sa tourism, makakatulong ba ang foreign investment sa
Samal po. Opo.
Meron pong malaking investment po diyan, kaya lang natulog yung Ekran Berhad.
Bakit po natulog?
Hindi nga nag-function for several years ngayon.
Dahil po?
Wala ngang it is a Malaysian investment. Kaya
dahil po sa higpit natin? Dahil po ba sa higpit kaya hindi siya
ang unang-una,
nagkaroon po ba ng kaso o ano po?
wala pong kaso po yung Ekran Berhad. Talagang hindi sila naka-function kasi may kinidnap noon sa Samal yung foreigner. At saka naepektuhan yung Ekran Berhad. Kaya nagsara sila. Wala talagang pumapasok na mga tourist dahil sa nangyari noon. So peace and order problem. So pero palagay ko yung peace and order problem ma-address na yan ngayon. Pero ang problema ngayon, hindi pa namin na kailangan talaga ng mga initiative sa local, gaya ng city government. Example, pwede naman buhayin yung Ekran Berhad through initiative sa city government. Kaya ang suggestion ko dito sa constitutional amendments or constitutional change, kasi may mga pangyayari ngayon sa, halimbawa na lang, sa local government unit, sa barangay. Sa barangay, ang binabalik-balikan nilang pagbabudget, yun lang IRA. Whereas, yung barangay as the smallest local government unit, meron siya ng dalawang source of revenues. Sana. Ang isang source of revenues ay yung sa tax. Ang malaki sana na revenues na kikitain ng barangay is the non-tax. Ibig sabihin, i-exercise ng local government unit, not only barangay, pwede rin sa municipal, pwede rin sa city, pwede rin sa probinsya, i-exercise ang corporate power niya by creating as much as he can GOCCs, government-owned and controlled corporation, para lalaki ang babudgetin ng local government unit. Kasi mas malaki po ang non-tax revenues na kikitain ng mga lokal. Sa ngayon, all over the country, lahat yata ng mga barangay, ang binabudget nila yung IRA lang. Pati yung municipality, IRA lang.
Yes, sir.
Kung makakita tayo ng mga GOCCs, siguro sa barangay, sa provincial level, pero kukonti lang.
Yes, sir. Opo, maraming salamat po, Mr. Gilbert Rosete, kapatid ko sa PDP Laban. Yung inyo pong concern, pag-usapan po natin mamaya, gagawa po tayo ng panukala para dyan, sir. At naniniwala po ako na kayo talaga ang nakakaintindi pag mga barangay. Talagang dapat ang boses ninyo ang naririnig. Ano po yan? Gawan po natin ng panukala at dadalhin po natin yan sa komite ng local government, kapatid ko sa PDP Laban. Pero kayo po, kanina, nasabi nyo po na pabor po kayo sa foreign investor.
Yes. Oo.
Ayan. Yun po ang mahalaga, sir. Opo, maraming salamat po, Councilor. Pareho po kayo ng posisyon.
Hindi po ako, Councilor. Ano lang.
Opo, pero pareho po kayo ni Councilor na magkasama po kayo sa sama. Opo. Maraming salamat po sa inyo.
Okay, thank you.
Opo, bago ko po balikan si Sir Ang Leongto at si Mr. Julian Payne, pakinggan lang po natin si Mr. Greco Bellica, presidente po ng Partido Federal. Sir Greco, Senator. Opo, mabuhay po.
Mr. Chairman, maunahon nais kong batiin at i-congratulate ang kapitapitagan nating ginagalang na kaibigan, revolusyonaryo, makabagong revolusyonaryong senador, Idol Robin Padilla, for continuing to push charter change na kinakailangan ng ating bansa. Pangalawa, nais kong batiin ang inyong mahusay na pagkakadissect ng pwedeng pag-usapan sa pagbabago ng saligang batas. Ito po yung pagko-concentrate lamang sa economic provisions ng batas o ng saligang batas at paghihiwalay sa political issues. Na matagal talaga pag lahat ng ipasok po natin sa politika talaga napakatagal. Subalit, mapag-uusapan natin mabilis at mapagkakasunduan natin mabilis, tama po kayo, ang mga economic provisions ng Constitution na kinakailangan po natin baguhan. So binabati ko po kayo sa inyong napag-isipan na yan. Thirdly, in the issue of changing economic provisions of the Constitution, of course, para tulungan, mapunlad po ang ating bansa, ekonomiya ng ating bansa, mga Pilipino. Bagamat, tama po kayo, kinakailangan natin ng mga kapuhunan na manggagaling sa ibang bansa para makadagdag sa paglago ng ating ekonomiya. Nais ko lamang pong tanungin kung ang dapat po ba natin baguhin talaga specifically is foreign direct investments, or should we really talk about more about the degree of affordability o karapatan na ibinibigay natin sa pamahalaan ang dimasukan ang economic, trade issues, regulatory issues sa resources, pera, lupa, natural resources, at yung panghimasok, yung kapangyarihan ng pamahalaan panghimasukan ng mga trade, related and economic-related activities. Yung pagre-regulate, pag-i-issue ng franchise, pag-i-issue ng batas, pangingialam sa ating lupa. Hindi lamang po yung karapatan or pagbibigay ng karapatan sa mga banyaga may-ari ng lupa, pero dapat po ba natin ding tingnan kung tayong Pilipino ba dito sa Pilipinas ay merong karapatan sa ilalim ng saligang batas na malayang mag-ari ng sarili nating lupa, pakinabangan ng ating kinita, maghanap buhay at magnegosyo ayon sa makakabuti sa bawat isa sa atin at para sa ating bansa. O ang ating pamahalaan dahil sa konstitusyon ay napakalaki ng kapangyarihan, kontrolin, i-regulate at pamahalaan ang mga bagay na yan, pati na po ang lupa, pati na po ang hanap buhay, pati na po ang proseso ng ating paghahanap, lahat na lang. Hihingan mo ng permit, hihingan mo ng franchise, pati ang lupang binili mo na, babayaran mo pa sa gobyerno taon-taon. Pag hindi mo binayaran ang lupang binili mo ng amilyar, kukunin sa'yo ng gobyerno ito at ibebenta sa iba. Yan po ay paninikil sa karapatan na mismo ng Pilipino. Bago pa po natin pag-usapan ang karapatan ng banyaga pumasok sa ating bansa. Ang karapatan po ng Pilipino na panghawakan ang perang kanyang kinita. Sabay sobra-sobra humingi ng buwis ang pamahalaan. Halos kalahati po ng ating kinikita pupunta po lahat sa pamahalaan. Ito po ay parte ng economic provisions. Hindi lamang po foreign direct investments. Bago po natin pag-usapan, hindi po sinasabing hindi mahalaga pag-usapan ng foreign direct investments, mahalaga rin po yan. Pero baka pwede na po natin tingnan muna na baka dito sa Pilipinas, we have enough resources. There's enough resources, both natural and financial. Kung hindi man tayo maging mayaman na mayaman, pero enough for us to be better off than where we are today. Napakarami na pera sa Pilipinas, napakaraming pera ng gobyerno, napakaraming magagaling na Pilipino, napakamaraming matatalino at masisipag na Pilipino alam ang dapat gawin. Madali hong pumasok ang pera basta sa isipan at damdamin ng mga namumuhunan at investor at whether local or international or foreign, maluwag sila at na makapaghahanap buhay dito na hindi pinakikialaman at kinokontrol ng pamahalaan na pabago-bago. Baka this should be part of our discussion today or for all these constitutional hearings or amendment hearings para maging mas adapted, mas malawak, mas makatutulong ang kalalabasan po ng ating pag-uusap na Ginoong Tagapangulo. Kung naniniwala po na ang puhunan madali pong papasok at ang puhunan marami na po dito sa ating bansa. Pwede rin po nating yung basically po yung pakikialam ng pamahalaan, gaano ba talaga natin dapat bigyan ng kapangyarihan ang pamahalaan, pakialaman, ang ekonomiya at ang trade sa ating bansa. Dapat po natin isibatas ang regular impact assessment of existing economic regulations na magkaroon po ito ng mga sunset provisions para every 3 years, every 5 years, na pag-aaralan natin kung ang mga regulations na inilagay natin sa isang industriya ay tama pa or sobra na or kulang pa. Ito po ay, yun po ang aming puntos dito sa PBBS para sa mga Pilipino. It is
naghang na po ang ating kaibigan na si attorney si Jerry Mabelica, si brother Greco Belica. Maraming salamat po. Napakaganda po ng mga punto na ibinigay sa atin ni Sir Greco. Pakinggan naman po natin si Dr. Raul Fabella, National Scientist and Economist, National Academy of Science and Technology. Sir Dr. Raul Fabella, magandang tanghali po.
Good afternoon. Magandang tanghali sa lahat ng nakikinig.
Opo, meron po kayong video?
Meron.
Opo, pwede po makita po ang inyong wangis.
It's not worth
Doc. Opo.
yeah. May video ako.
Doc? Hindi po namin kayo makita, pero magtatanong na po ako, Doc. Palagay niyo po ba, bilang kayo po ay matindi to, National Scientist and Economist. Sir, maraming salamat po sa inyong pagdalo. Sir, tanong ko lang po, kayo po, sir, ano pong palagay po nyo sa economic provision ng ating 1987 Constitution? Kasi po may mga nagsasabi na hindi naman daw po ang konstitusyon ang problema. Kaya ang ating ekonomiya ay hindi po lumalago globally. Meron naman po nagsasabi na kailangan na natin talagang amendahan ang ating 1987 Constitution. Ano po sa palagay po ninyo, Doc?
Sa palagay ko, nag-attend ako ng isang congressional hearing on the revision of the 1987 Constitution. Ang aking pasya ay pabor ako. Pabor na i-revisa ang 1987 Constitution. Anong moda o modality? Ako'y pabor. Ako'y pabor sa... Are you getting me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Nadinig ko po na pabor po kayo na amendahan ng Constitution. Alin po doon, sir? Yung po bang economy lang, economic provision lang, o buo po, yung buong Constitution?
Para sa akin naman, Senador, ang economic provision not only is associated with restrictive foreign ownership, but with the patrimony of the land, which is yung land reform provision ng Constitution. So, hindi lang para sa akin yung opening up of the economy to greater foreign investment, but yung opening up the rural market. By the way, the investment in the rural markets is very, very low. Kasi ang mga kapitalista, they are fleeing the rural economy. They are moving to the urban economy and the real estate and property markets. So kailangan nating pag-aralan, tutukan not only the Section 12 but also Section 13 of the Constitution. Ngayon meron na akong comment dun kasi matagal-tagal na rin akong nakinig dito dun sa mga pinag-uusapan. So first of all, anong moda? Ang moda na I prefer is constitutional convention. I think the lady speaker made the case for a constitutional convention very clear. Tsaka recent actuations ng Kongreso mismo, nakukumbinsi sa akin na ang CONAS will only pass self-serving provisions. The CONAS will work only if there is credible guarantees that only the restricted the economic provisions will change. But there's nothing in the Constitution itself that keeps the other provisions of the Constitution close to a CONAS modality. So, but if there is a CONAS at all, of course I favor voting separately by the two houses of Congress. And when? My favorite is that it will be postponed till later. And the reason is we are in a crisis. And we need a lot of investments. And cha-cha in any form will postpone needed investment and needed growth. And some comments on previous talks.
Maputol ko lang po kayo, Doc. So, alin po sa inyong dalawa, Doc? CONCON o CONAS? Basta magkaroon ng charter change, payag po kayo.
Preferably constitutional convention.
Mas gusto niyo po ng CONCON? Opo.
Oh, yeah.
Bilang isang economist po, sabi po kanina ng NEDA, masyado daw magastos po ang CONCON. Ano po ang opinion po ninyo?
We are rewriting the future of this country, and a difference of 10 billion is not that's a big issue.
Ibig niyo pong sabihin, Doc, na katulad po ng sinabi ng kagalang-galang at mahal nating Congressman Rufus Rodriguez, pumapayag po kayo sa sinabi niya na ito ay investment.
Exactly, it's the future. we are jiggering the future of this country for the better. Okay, so now some comments, no, on the relationship between DFIs and government type. DFIs has nothing to do with government type. DFIs will follow the rule of law, not the type of government. Any government whatsoever with a good rule of law will attract direct foreign investment in droves. So yung sinasabi ng Malaysian investment sa Samal Island ay na-abort, kidnapping ang problema. That's a rule of law. But I'll give you another example, no? Ang Tampakan Gold and Copper Mine, importante sa Mindanao yan. $5 billion investment yan. 2,000 workers employment is at stake. Ngayon, anong nangyari? Wala pa rin nangyayari kasi the local government is standing in the way of Tampakan Gold and Copper Mine. The Tampakan Gold and Copper Mine has already passed all the national hurdles. Pero hindi pa rin makalipad. That's rule of law. That's the inconsistency between national policy and local LGU code. That has to be done. In other words, the problem with Tampakan is not constitutional restriction on ownership. Nothing to do with constitutional restriction on ownership. I'd also like to make a comment on high cost of shipping in Minda. Is it a monopoly? Could be. But the most important reason for high cost of shipping is that incoming bottoms may be full going to Mindanao, but outgoing, it's empty. So you can immediately see that the cost per ton will be 2 times the cost if it's full both ways. Ang pupunta kasi sa Singapore, it's usually full both ways. Or the shipping firm will just go out of business. The problem is we need development in Mindanao so that the outgoing bottoms will also be full. In 1990, we opened our capital account to attract foreign investment. At that time, ang sinasabi is game changer to, no? But you know, you have to distinguish between different types of foreign investment. After the opening up of the capital account, what we got mostly was portfolio investment, hindi direct foreign investment. Now, the ratio of portfolio investment to direct foreign investment in the Philippines is about 125%. Mas malaki pa yung portfolio investment kaysa sa DFI. Now, it is DFI that creates jobs and create value. I mean, portfolio, they're here today. They're not here tomorrow. No? So, in comparison, the ratio of direct foreign investment, or portfolio to direct foreign investment in ASEAN countries is between 10 to 50%. Of course, in China, it's just 5%. So, walang DFI na kailangan natin. Ang nangyari, ang pumasok, puro portfolio. Now, kulang sa benepisyo ang portfolio. Now, will there be a tsunami of DFIs if the constitutional ownership of restrictions is lifted? No, no. There will be some investors who will be, who will enter, but at the margins. The poverty of direct foreign investment is due to many things, not only to restrictive ownership. In fact, but the restriction on ownership can be very costly. I'll give you an example. The example is the Piatco problem that we had. Piatco Terminal 3 scandal tells a good story. The construction and operation of Terminal 3 na attracted foreign interests, among them Fraport. But the ownership restrictions meant that the foreign interest cannot own and run the facility. It needed a local majority partner. Now that itself discouraged some foreign investors from joining the bid. It found one partner, but this partner was embroiled in a corruption case, leading to lawsuits that caused the completed Terminal 3 to be mothballed for a decade. In 2016, the Philippine Supreme Court, following an arbitral ruling, ordered the Philippine government to indemnify Piatco 25 billion pesos to indemnify Piatco 25 billion pesos. Had the ownership restriction not been there, Terminal 3 would have been run and earning since 2002, and the 25 billion indemnity would have been avoided. So the 25 billion indemnity was the cost of foreign ownership restriction in just this one case. Fraport itself did not have clean hands. That's probably why it came in, despite the foreign restrictions. But that is irrelevant, because if the foreign restrictions were not there, then the other cleaner foreign investors would have bid for the project. There were local interests in the funding of the project, but that is also irrelevant because nabuwag yung consortium of big capital. That's why you needed foreign capital. And the restriction on foreign ownership spawned an industry called the dummy partner industry, which in fact is associated with a lot of corruption. And we know that. Okay? So what I'm saying is that foreign investments, there are many reasons for foreign investment to flock. The lifting of the restrictions on foreign investors in the Constitution will help. That's why I'm for it. But it's not going to create a tsunami. A tsunami, the reason, of course, is that we have other problems. Para sa akin, if you ask me, if you lower the cost of power in this country, you will have a more important effect on direct foreign investment than lifting of restrictions on foreign ownership. Okay, so I humbly suggest that if the Constitution is rewritten by whatever modality, that the Constitution drops Section 11, Article 12 of the Constitution and Section 4 of Article 13. Both of these are economic provisions and they are policy instruments. Now, policy instruments should not masquerade as basic values. The problem with our Constitution is it's too long. The reason it's too long is because it has these Articles 12 and 13, which are actually subject of legislation, not constitutional provision. It has been said by many speakers that we should be able to make flexibility an important issue, resilience an important issue. Now, legal or restrictions could be had can be passed by the Congress at the moment and in time when it is needed. Those temporary necessities could be addressed by Congress, not by constitutional provision. That is what I'm saying. That the reason why the Constitution is too long is it has too many legal. It has too many provisions that should be emanating from Congress rather than from a constitutional convention. So the Constitution that I prefer should be short, pithy, and written in noble language, in noble prose, or even poetry. Too long, and it has many problems. Thank you very much.
Salamat po. Doc, ewan lang po akong tanong. Last na tanong na lang po, Doc. Kasi kanina malinaw naman po yung sinabi ninyo na mas gusto nyo yung konkon. Opo. At yun ang gusto nyong moda. Ang tanong ko lang po, Doc, sa palagay po nyo, ano bang dapat ang ating structure ng gobyerno? Kung aalis po tayo ba sa presidential form of government na unitary o tayo po, ano po ba? Ang palagay po ninyo, kung hindi lang economic provision ang problema sa ating bansa para umusad, ano pong structure ng gobyerno ang sa palagay niyo po ang dapat na ating adapt?
Tulad ng sinabi ko, my first point was the relationship between direct foreign investment and structure of government. There is no relationship between direct foreign investment and structure of government. There is a relationship between direct foreign investment and the rule of law, not the type of government. Any government at all with a good rule of law will attract direct foreign investors, as given by the Malaysian example of the Malaysian investment in Samal Island, na-abort yun. As given by the example on Tampakan. Nothing to do with foreign ownership restrictions.
Sa palagay niyo po ba, yung binanggit kanina ni Sir Greco Bellica, hindi po ba yun problema? Yung ganong klase na masyadong powerful ang executive. Masyado nating binigyan ng power ang executive na lahat na lang ay pwede niyang pakialaman, lahat na lang ay pwede niyang pasukan. Parang ganun po, di ba po? Parang may epekto yan din. Parang yun po ang punto kanina ni Sir Greco Bellica.
Meron din epekto yan. Pero you must remember, that's People's Republic of China. The president is extremely powerful. In fact, he is a virtual dictator now. But direct foreign investment goes on. Vietnam is almost a communist dictatorship. But direct foreign investment goes on. In other words, the central authority that is powerful might simply use the power to improve the rule of law, which is really what businessmen want. These are not only foreign investors; these are domestic investors.
The whole.
Investors. Basta investors.
Maraming salamat po, sir. Napakaganda po, Doc, ng inyong sinabi na wala sa forma ng gobyerno yan. Wala sa kahit ano. Kailangan lang malinaw ang sinasabi ng konstitusyon. Huwag nang masyadong maging mahaba. Hayaan natin ang ating konstitusyon ay madaling maintindihan at hayaan natin ang mga mambabatas na gumawa ng batas. Ganun po ba?
Yun, sang-ayon ako dyan. We must prune articles in the Constitution that refers to making laws. Those should be given to the legislature to mandate.
Maraming salamat po, Doc. Napakaliwanag po ng inyong mungkahi. Maraming salamat po. Mabuhay po, Dr. Raul Fabella. Maraming salamat po.
Honorable Senator.
Gusto ko lamang pong hingan ng opinion si Sir, malis na yata, si Sir Antonio Peralta. Hindi na nakapag-antay.
Yeah.
Malis ba? Nag-toilet lang o malis na po. Okay, balikan ko lang po kanina. May maganda po tayo. May binanggit po si Doc patungkol dun sa shipping. Nakuha ko na po yung datos. Na ito pala yun, no? Sa shipping ho, sa Pilipinas, ang an average port-to-port cost per nautical mile sa Pilipinas ay nakakapaghalaga po ng $1.47. Mas mataas po sa Indonesia na 77 lang. Hindi umabot ng $1. Yun po, kalahati nga po. Tama ako. Sabi ng ating kagalang-galang pong bisita, si Mr. John Gaisano Jr., patungkol po doon sa foreign direct investment na according to Sir John, na you might eat up all the local businesses. Sir, can you comment on that?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. my good friend John has made two really critical points. One was raising the question of where is foreign investment really needed. He suggested, I think, that it's the large corporations and the duopolies and so on. I would argue that the greatest need for foreign direct investment are the medium and smaller businesses in the land, particularly those outside the capital. And the reason is not only for money, which they have a hard time getting anyway, but also their need for transfer of technology. So I think it's very important that whatever we do to encourage FDI, take into account the needs for FDI of the smaller and medium-sized companies. The second point I think he made, which is really critical, and I agree with it 100%, is the need to be sector-specific in whatever restrictions we consider. That what is good for mining may not be good for small retail stores. Now, let me use an example. Let's take the Retail Sales Liberalization Act. This is a wonderful example of why something should be vested in the Congress and not in the Constitution. Over the 2 decades, there has been amendments that have responded to outside change conditions. There was the initial act in 2000, and then there was the recent one. Now, what did the recent one do? It responded to the fact that the old one was not being very effective in attracting foreign direct investment. And secondly, the old one excluded possibility of any FDI going to smaller companies which couldn't invest $2.5 million. So what did the new act do? The new act did two things. One, it reduced the 2.5 to 0.5, but then the Congress made a brilliant move. It said that those who didn't put up the 0.5, if it was a Philippine-owned company 60-40, it could still engage in retail sales. So what this enabled, this was a fine tuning, which allowed the smaller companies, if they were 60-40, to bring in a junior partner and the technology. So I think the Retail Sales Act liberalization is a classic example of how Congress should be controlling restrictions and fine-tuning it to the evolving external conditions and internal. So that's the first point. The second point my good friend John made was that, the danger that if there was 100% or 50% foreign ownership of a sari-sari store, Canadians would flock over to work in sari-sari stores. That is not going to happen. Foreign investment is made, but it doesn't necessarily mean that foreigners are going to come and work in those. In fact, generally, if you have foreign direct investment, it will increase the capacity of the workforce and generate additional jobs, not take them away. So I think the fear that foreign direct investment will, in fact, displace local employment is a bogus issue with respect. Thank you.
Sir, thank you very much, Sir Julian Payne. Sir, you want to react with the...
First of all, I did not say sari-sari store. Okay. We need investment in area. And in fact, I would not actually support those areas where the government should have provided. I visited Vietnam quite some time ago. Their government provides support for their agri-sector, which is very much lacking in our Department of Agriculture. So they actually provide technology, know-how, and they train the people. So I actually went there. Surprisingly, it was supported by Australian government, the trip when I went there. So they really provide technology. So the very, very poor can understand. So they also provide support even in equipment. It's not a giveaway. It could be a long-term loan. But if you just give this to a foreigner, what will happen to our country? Majority of our people are dependent on agriculture. I don't think that should be a giveaway. So anyway, that's one point.
Sir, you want to react?
I use sari-sari store. It also applies to bigger stores. I do not think foreign ownership of a medium-sized company is going to result in lots of Canadians coming across the Pacific to work in the Philippines. In fact, the bigger danger may be that if there's a relationship between the foreign direct investor provider in Canada and the company that's investing here, is that employees in the company here will seek to use that inspection to go and migrate to Canada. It's the reverse. I don't think there's a danger of foreign direct investment displacing local labor. There are other reasons why you might want to restrict it, but I don't think that is a valid one, in my view.
Sir, one rebut? No.
I don't want to take the time of everyone, but we should be more specific. No, which one we will liberalize? How much will allow them to come in? The basic consideration is livelihood of our people, employment, security of our people, and then we should look both short-term and long-term. If you're going to go specific, we're going to take so much time from everyone.
Salamat po. We will leave that to the lawmakers to protect the interests of the Filipino people. So we encourage still the unless otherwise provided by law. Thank you very much po sa inyong dalawa. Thank you very much, sir, for the both of you for giving your, I think, opinions that is very important in this discussion, sir. Thank you very much. Balikan po natin ngayon ang BARM. BARM, aking mga kapatid, Assalamualaikum. Sir, at MP Attorney Rasul Yap Mitmog Jr. at Mr. Rasul Enderes Ismael, mga kapatid, ano po ba ang pwedeng maging epekto ng pag-amenda ng FDI sa BARM? Ito po ba makakatulong sa BARM? Kapag nagkaroon po ba tayo ng amenda at ating inalis ang mga restriction, ano po ang epekto nito sa inyo? Magkakaroon po ba kayo ng maraming investor?
Mahal na Senador, sa BARM po, sumusunod din po tayo sa national laws. Ibig sabihin kung ano yung restriction sa konstitusyon, yun din po yung major restriction sa BARM. So, pero pag pinansin nyo po ngayon, yung takbo po ng investment sa BARM, karamihan po dito ay foreign investment. Ibig sabihin hindi po karamihan dito ay local. Mostly ay foreign investment. Pero naniniwala po tayo dun sa sinasabi ng mga ekonomista natin, pati ng mga business person natin, na dito importante po ma-ID natin yung industriya, ano yung kinakailangan ng industriya na ipapapasok natin at bigyan natin ng leeways, at ano naman yung mga industriya na dapat talaga para sa atin. Yan din po yung isang reason na nagkaroon ng BARM, kasi yung mga kababayan natin, mga kapatid natin sa area, sabi nila may area dito na may, aside from yung atin, yung kultura natin ay magkakapareho at may certain way of doing business tayo. So ang ma-share lang po natin, malaki din pong tulong, nasasabi naman po talaga na ang FDI makakapagbigay ng trabaho at bagong kapital sa lugar at makakapag-invite ng tao. Ang importante lang po, dahil napag-usapan na din yung sa konstitusyon, may malaking bagay din pong interes ng BARM dito. Dahil alam natin sa BOL, hindi po lahat ng mga importanteng provision ay na-shoot dahil may constitutional restriction. So, katulad ng opo, kaya po ang importante po is baka naman mapag-usapan din kasabay nung financial direct investment, yung mga potential constitutional restrictions. So, naniniwala po tayo na ang pinakamagandang paraan dito ay yung CONCON. Maraming salamat po.
Ba, magandang ano yan, kayo po ay pumapayag ang BARM na CONCON.
Personal po na posisyon. Ako po.
Personal. Opo, hindi po yan
Kasi
BARM.
kung yung grupo po, kailangan namin ng resolution. Pero kung pansinin nyo po, maskin sa panahon ngayon, question yung appointments kasi bakit appointees lang dyan. Yung taong bayan po namin, sabi nila, dapat elected na kayo. So katulad din po sa sitwasyon natin ngayon, dahil pinag-usapan natin ang ating kinabukasan, buong bayan, mas mabuti po yung taong bayan din po yung magsalita.
Maraming salamat po. Kayo po, Sir Mr. Rasul, parehas po ba kayo ng posisyon? CONCON din po ba kayo?
Magandang hapon po, mahal na Senador. Actually po, may prepared position paper ako na babasahin ko po, mahal na Senador. Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Undeniably, as a country, it is apparent that Philippines, we are still lagging behind our neighboring countries like Malaysia, Indonesia, and other Asian countries when it comes to economic growth. While it is true that we are the developing country which up to date still struggles when it comes to economic development, this does not need to say that way if we are open to changes and adjustments that proves to be crucial in economic development. Since the ratification of the Bangsamoro Organic Law, the Bangsamoro region proves to be doing well in contributing to the economic growth of the country, ranking number 2 as the fastest growing region in the country. Philippine Statistics Authority showed that the Bangsamoro region was now among the top 3 regions contributing to the gross domestic product growth with an economic performance increase of 7.5%. Philippine Statistical Authority reported that the region's highest growth is on human health and social work activities at 22%, and mining and quarrying also showed that at 20.2%, 17.9% on food service activities, and construction at 12.2%. Geographically, the Bangsamoro region holds huge potential in contributing more in the economic growth, in considering the possible economic resources that are conveniently situated in the region. It could massively help in the economic growth of the country if it is developed and utilized on its full potential. We'd like also to share that in the Bangsamoro Parliament, one of our colleagues, MP Amir Mawalil, filed a bill which will create the Bangsamoro Economic Zone Authority to help promote investment in the region. Hopefully, this bill will pave the way in developing and facilitating the export of goods and services, especially in the growing halal market. Adjusting the restrictions on the foreign investments could vastly unleash the full potential of these different schemes that will likely contribute in the economic growth of the country. In conclusion, I would like to manifest to the Honorable Committee that we do not oppose the proposed amendments to the 1987 Constitution, and we support this as long as there is an assurance that the present economic privileges and rights enjoyed by the Bangsamoro under the Bangsamoro Organic Law will not in any manner be disturbed by the said proposed amendments and pertinent provisions from Bangsamoro Organic Law that must not be affected.
Maraming salamat po, brother. Mr. Rasul Enderes Ismael at kay brother MP Attorney Rasul Yap Mitmog Jr. Ako naman po ay mga kapatid, over my dead body. Kapag gagalawin nila yan, hindi tayo papayag. Opo, ang kailangan, kung ano man ang mangyaring amenda sa konstitusyon, palalakasin ang BARM, hindi pahihinain. Opo. Ngayon po, atin pong pakinggan si Attorney Nazir Inawat, Presidente po ng Alliance of Advocates of Federalism in the Philippines Incorporated. Attorney!
Hello. Hello. Assalamualaikum, Haji Aziz. May Senator Ruben.
Opo, brother. Kanina po nag-uusap dito. Ako po ay siguro naman nakikinig po kayo kanina. Marami pong nagsasabi, katulad po ni Ma'am Astra. Gusto niyang palitan ang forma ng gobyerno. Ano po ang inyong mungkahi?
Actually, hindi lang forma. Actually, it should be a structural and overhaul because maraming defect. 35 years na tayo, hindi lang economic provision. In fact, mga political provisions there, party list, and so on and so forth. No? There are many. In fact, we from the Alliance of Advocates of Federalism, nakapokus kami doon. In fact, our inspiration when we organized this last September after my observation of the political development in Manila. So we are for structural overhaul. In fact, way back in the 1990s, we were already for federalism. So by structural overhaul, I mean federal constitution. Address the problem of the time at that time the problems at the time. Many things have happened from that time up to now. So marami ng discussion about that. Wala tayong internet noon, ngayon meron na. Pero yung structural overhaul, sinasabi ko, it must be entrenched in a federal constitution where we have the political structure, the economic provisions, and then the social provisions, and all other. We have to renew it because we have to adjust to the needs of the time, Mr. Senator. By the way, Mr. Senator, we have already submitted our position paper to your office, I think last week. I need not read that on the economic aspects also, although it is couched in general terms, because there are already many discussions on the economic provisions. But one thing, even if I am a foreigner on the economic provision, one thing that I fear is the ending clause of Article 12, Section 22, which already states, if I am a foreigner, which states that any acts which are against the provision of Article 12 is considered inimical to national interests and may subject any foreigner or investor to any criminal or civil actions. So that is one. So we have to delete this provision because this isn't a good attraction or a good provision. We have to attack foreigners. So when I say structural, I may also answer and react to Dr. Padilla's comment that there is no relation between the type or form of government with the economic provisions that we are fighting for. I don't believe, Doctor. I don't believe so. Just about two speakers have spoken about that. I think it is MP, Minister Rasmit Mug, have said that investments in the BARM now, in the BARM, which is a region, are mostly from foreign investors. Now, if we have a federal government and we have federated regions or federal regions, the money, we have to disabuse our mind that the money shall not anymore be concentrated in Metro Manila. It shall be dispersed of the regions. For example, in our case, in that case, the BARM, in our case, the southwestern Mindanao regions, which is the Zambazulta, including also the Zamboanga Peninsula. So we have a lot of mines here, oil, and then in fisheries salmon, we have a lot of wealth here. So we just need capital. We need capital. So if we will not overhaul the Constitution, the federal regions will not benefit. The money will be concentrated in Manila. In fact, many have mentioned that even 100 people, business people or those billionaires in Manila can buy the whole country. But the 110 other people, 110 million people cannot even buy their goods. So we have to disperse power. That's why I said structural power. We have to concentrate the executive department in Metro Manila and then disperse all other powers to the regions, whether it will be 14, 11, 18, or what, so that the regions can also exercise their own powers, and then they can attune their economic and development plan to the needs of the region. In our case now, under unitary, all the powers in major decision. Problema nga yan, Ruben, Senator, kasi even us, no, from Western Mindanao, or even I, from Sulu, for example, ang layo-layo, even in talking to you now, kanina, 9:35 yung flight, dadating ako dyan, mga 11 o'clock na. So, pagdating ko ng 11 o'clock, wala na, baka kako tapos na. So, I communicated with your secretary. Sabi ko, pagbigyan kami, mag-Zoom na lang kami. In fact, we have a wide screen here and some members and officials of the alliance are with me, listening to you. So, itong example ng problema natin ng kaya overhaul tayo. Overhaul so that the regions can be given power. Hindi na lahat ng decisions na sa Manila na, wala kami. Maski public hearing, maski hearing, wala nga ang Zamboanga. We communicated also to Congressman Rufus Rodriguez. Hindi din napansin yung dito sa amin. And then meron ng hearing sa Cagayan de Oro, sa Davao, dito sa amin, and even in Cotabato or Jensan, walang hearing. So we really try to communicate with you, Mr. Senator. And then, Mr. Senator, the modality that we prepare, which we have studied already, is through Constitutional Convention. It is so fitting for us to have a Constitutional Convention because it is in the Constitution. The preamble itself has provided also, although the walking through to this, the preamble said, we, the sovereign Filipino people, imploring the aid of the etc., last portion, do ordain and promulgate this Constitution. So it is the people. So if the people is given the chance by electing the delegates, so that is pure republicanism, pure representative of our people, to make the Constitution and so that they can claim the Constitution as their own. Mr. Senator, Mr. Chairman.
Maraming salamat po, Attorney. Napakaganda po ng inyong mungkahi at ang inyong sampalataya sa ating taong bayan na sa kanila po manggaling talaga ang pagbabago. Inshallah. Ngayon po ay hihingin ko po ang baka may mga closing remarks po ang ating mga bisita. Magmula po kay Attorney Christine Kibot. Baka meron po kayong closing remark.
Yes, sir. Yung balikan ko lang po yung hinihingi nyo kanina po na data on foreign investments in Mindanao. From the years 2013 to 2020 po, fluctuating po yung foreign direct investments in Mindanao ranging from 0.1 to 0.1% to 20%, the highest being on 2018 po, and the lowest being in 2020 on 393 million only. So we hope po, sir, na with the
Ma'am, sorry po. Pesos po, dollars to?
pesos po. This is data from the BOI po, Registered Foreign Investment versus Local Equity Investment in Mindanao.
Bumaba po nung pandemic?
Mas bumaba po nung pandemic, and the highest po is nung 2018. And then,
Ayun po, nakaka-recover na po.
we have no data po as of yet for years 2021 to 2020 po. 2013 to 2020 po yung data namin. And to reiterate lang po, sir, no, Minda is steadfast in its mandate in pursuing the socio-economic development in Mindanao, and we are supportive po of any policy reforms that will further the development of Mindanao po. So we will submit again po yung namin, yung position paper on the proposed amendments on the economic provisions of the Constitution. Maraming salamat po, sir.
Maraming salamat po, Ma'am Attorney Christine Kibot ng Minda. Pareho na po kayo ni Ma'am?
Yes po.
Si Ma'am di nagsalita magmula kanina talagang... okay po. Thank you po, Ma'am. Atin po, si Attorney Yula Pertubos Arias, Jose Maria College, Ma'am.
Yes po. Good afternoon once again, Senator, and to everyone. So as a closing, let me go back po to my points kanina that again, the best route to go po is for CONCON, to give power to the people and for us to be more politically mature. And also there were a lot of points raised by our speakers, no, that we should specify what are the industries that we should welcome investors so as not to affect also our Filipino people. Yes, the local, no. So that should also be given point also, Senator. And I also agree with Mr. Favela. No, it's not about the kind of government, whether it's parliamentary, presidential, federal, whatever, what have you, no. The kind of government is not the end-all be-all solution. It's really the rule of law. It's the people. So we have to work on that, and it's not just about the form of government itself. It may help, but at the end of the day, it's still about the people and the rule of law. So yun po, to end, yun nga po, again, it's CONCON is the way to go. Thank you.
Konton kayo, Ma'am, ha? Talagang kahit anong form of government.
Yes, it's not about, again, it's not
Di
about...
po kayo naniniwala doon sa usapin ng unicameral o bicameral, gusto niyo mapabilis. Gano'n. Halimbawa, katulad po ng maging parliamentary tayo, magsasama na yung executive at ang legislative, mas mabilis ang paggawa ng batas. Hindi po kayo naniniwala doon?
Yes, it would be a lot easier po and faster. But again po, iba po kasi ang Philippine political landscape. So the kind of government is not really the cure. It's the rule of law, it's the people. So unlike siguro po sa ibang countries, or perhaps the kind of government is effective as to their political landscape. But for here in the Philippines, it's not really the end-all solution.
Thank you, Ma'am. Ano ko lang po, experience ko sa aking 8 buwan sa Senado, alam nyo, sila din ang lumalabag ng mga patakaran, katulad nung minsan, sineset aside nila yung rules of Senate para makapagsalita yung executive sa loob ng plenary. So minsan, nagiging parliamentary kami. Okay lang, ano lang yun, kwentuhan lang tayo, Ma'am, na sinasabi ko sa inyo na sometimes, sa mga issues na very, very interesting, nagiging parliamentary
Yes,
ang
yes.
Senado.
If I may just briefly share po, Senator, in college, I was political laws, political science po kasi ako. So actually my thesis is about changing from bicameral back again to unicameral. So it's quite ilang years na po yun. My stand before was unicameral, but right now it's not really essential whether uni or bi, but it's really the rule of law at the end
Yes,
of the
ma'am.
day.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much, ma'am. Sir John Igaysano po ng JHG Trading. Sir, your inyo pong panghuling salita sa pagdinig na to.
A while ago, I mentioned about that the people is more important than the form of government. But I'm not saying that the form of government is not important. It is not as important. Secondly, we can sacrifice speed and budget, for the security and the comfort of the people. That's why we should go con. Diba? Alam naman natin people have this kind of so-called distrust. Hindi naman sa lahat, for our politician. So if you're going to push with that, ang feeling ng majority of the people is extreme discomfort. Parang kanya-kanya na yun. Parang they will decide whatever they want. Parang ganon. So the con will give us greater sense of security. Not 100%. Yun lang.
May pahabol pa rin si Sir. Not 100%. Salamat po, Sir John. Salamat po. Tukayo pala, Sir John Carlo Vitria, Presidente po ng Davao Chamber of Commerce.
Maraming salamat po, kagalang-galang na senador. Siguro gusto ko lang pong ilinaw, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a legal expert, so I cannot really comment on the form of the amendments nor on the process. Pero siguro bilang panghuling salita ko po ngayong hapon, nais ko lang pong ipabatid na anuman ang pag-usapan po natin about our Constitution, ang effect po nito ay para sa future generations po natin. So, maraming salamat po sa panahon ninyong inalaan para sa amin. Magandang hapon po sa lahat.
Napakaganda po, Sir, nung huling sinabi nyo. Itong ginagawa natin ay hindi ganang para sa iyo, hindi parang ganang sa akin, kundi sa darating na henerasyon. Sana po maintindihan niya ng ating mga kababayan. Sir Julian Payne, Presidente po ng Canadian Chamber of Commerce at ang ilan pang Chamber of Commerce, nagre-representa ng Amerika, ng Japan, at iba't iba pang bansa. Sir, your last words for this hearing?
Yes, foreign investment should be welcomed, and management of it, both incentives and restrictions, should be vested in the Congress and the executive branch, not in the Constitution.
Thank you very much, sir. Ang atin pong kapatid, mula naman po sa BARM, Sir Mr. Rasul Enderes Ismael, sir.
Maraming salamat, mahal na senador. Kami po na inyong mga kapatid sa BARM, we are optimistic na itong ating ginagawa, especially doon sa foreign direct investment, ay may sa katuparan dahil ang buong region ng BARM napakalawak po, marami pong dapat yung especially on the finance na matter na kailangan po namin. Kaya kami po na mga kapatid nyo, whether con us or con man yan, kami po, dahil nasa 4 na taon pa lang po ang Bangsamoro, kami po ay umasa na sa itong subject nito ay sana hindi maapektuhan po yung Bangsamoro transition. Yun lang po.
Maraming salamat po, brother. Pareho na po. Okay, thank you po. So, alin sa inyo po con us. Basta matuloy, wag lang maapektuhan ang BARM. Kung maapektuhan man, positive na effect. Ma'am Astra, the revolutionary from PDP Laban, con daw siya. Ma'am, ano po ba ang last words nyo para po sa hearing na to?
Yes, maraming salamat muli, Senator Robin. At unang-una din, bago tayo mag-end, nagpapasalamat tayo na dinala mo dito sa Davao City, the land of promise, Mindanao, kasi lahat ng promise nasabi na. And the Constitution is one of the very reasons why all those promises have not been fulfilled. Kaya natataon na po talaga itong inyong panukala na magkaroon tayo ng amyenda o kaya revisyon ng ating konstitusyon. Pero muling ibinabalik ko po ang mungkahi na gawin po natin itong Constitutional Convention. The genius of the Constitution of any land lies in the fact that the framers of those constitutions recognizes that they are not perfect. And the Philippine Constitution is not perfect. The 1987 Constitution is not perfect. Nagpapasalamat tayo sa kanila. Pero kailangang ma-recognize din natin na hindi na po angkop ang 1987 Constitution sa panahon natin. Talking about only the economic provisions of our Constitution will in turn, in the coming days, magbubunga pa rin ang problema. Dahil ibabalik ko po, ang forma natin at ang konstitusyon natin ngayon ay isang fiera na sira-sira na, butas pa yung gulong. Huwag tayong maglagay ng bubble gum sa ating gulong at sa ibang-ibang butas pa ng ating konstitusyon. Let us not sacrifice the quality of our constitution by haste or by finances. Hindi po dapat magiging usapin natin ang pera sa paghahanda ng ating panibagong konstitusyon, kundi ang dapat nating tingnan, ito ay investment natin. It is not an expense. There are so many money that has been wasted in corruption. Bakit natin kukwestiyonin ang pag-i-invest natin ng pera para sa Constitution by going for a constitutional convention? NEDA has already said that if we push for a constitutional convention and decide for it, kaya natin pababain ang ating expense. Kasi marami na expense ang tawag nila, no? Kaya natin pababain to around 38 million pag isasabay natin whether in the barangay election or in the national election ang ating plebisito. So, isa puso sana natin that the Constitution will not really take that long because we are not starting from scratch. Let us thank President Duterte because he already made a draft Constitution. Nagawa na po ito, inabutan lamang po ng pandemya, kaya hindi na i-push ng maigi. But the legal luminaries and experts have already drafted, and sa tingin ko po, kung ano yung kanilang ginawa, ay maaari pa nating mapaigting at mas mapapaganda by electing the National Convention delegates. Yun lamang po at maraming salamat.
Yun. Maraming salamat po, Ma'am Astra. Ngayon po ay si Mr. Sebastian Aguilongto. Sir, ang inyo pong panghuling salita sa pagdinig natin.
Thank you, Senator. Sigino Gilbert, who's sitting beside me, he was talking about yung nagsirado yung iklaglahan. I have a knowledge there. For your information, I was the chairman of the Mindanao Economic Development Council, which is now MINDA. Yung MINDA that is Mekoy, akong chairman. It was during that time, it was during that time when I was chairman of MEDCO, the closest businessman to President Mahathir of Malaysia, Tan Sri Timpe King, who owns the Langkawi Resort, well known. So they were looking for an area. We tried to match them to the 600 hectares land which was covered by agrarian reform. So the negotiate sila, they listed for 200 plus hectares for 50 years plus 25 years. So yung ginawa nila yung casino, which the church did not object because it's more foreigner nakalaro dyan. They have contact pala ni Tan Sri is Taiwan Eva Airline charter flight. Ito na ngayon, itumundupulit yung Philippine Airline, full budget. Kinanswer nila, nawala. So nagkaroon ng malstroke si Tim Peking yun eh. As soon as yung anak niya naiwan dito sa Senado, hindi nila binigay management. Wala ninakaw at mga things. Now, the problem right now is that Mr. Tim Peking, they still have a contract, they want to revive, but they cannot revive kasi ang city government ang Samal is not practical. When it's closed up, they make the real estate tax like taximeter. Ang laki ng utang eh. They should have taken a foresight to long term condonation para makapasok ka ma-revive because that's long term. Yung nangyari doon. So, yan ang story. Why yung investment yan sayang na wala sa Davao. Malaki. Sa yan, no? Now, going back ito nga sinasabi yung nagkalaw na yung constitutional convention, assembly. Ako, I'm really at a loss, no? I was thinking my father, no? Since the senator is not a job to be a senator. Intellectually, talaga kanya-kanya na, like your case na lang, no? Sasabihin, si Robin Padilla, upnat certain, ano yan. That's not the point. I'm trying to observe you as a person when you preside. You open up your mind to learn, to listen. If a good listener will learn faster than anything. Plus, you're full of your legal. I'm very sure you have your legal panel who make research on that. You learn faster rather than a individual person who is self-centered. They will not learn fast. The theory lang yan eh. But you are trying to harmonize between what is the theory legalistic aspect and the practical aspect. That's why I was thinking, I was looking at you like, nagsalita ako, since this is a public living economic, mix mo na sa yung political structure, hindi matatapos yan. But I was telling my partner here, is it possible the Congress will talk to the Speaker of the House on the compromise among the 200 plus congressmen, elect the 24 best wise men as a counterpart of the senator, which is more pantayan, di ba? Kasi you cannot make the Congress lower house, kadami nila eh. That's not fair eh. Now, if there are really, there is a will to think about what our President of the Chamber said for the future, think about the country first. If they can elect among themselves 25 wise men as a counterpart, in that maybe that Constitutional Assembly can move faster siguro. I do not know. That would be the thing I think about the practical aspect. Just I look at you as a practical mind. These are purely external. While you are talking about economic and public hearing, on the other ground, I will try to think about it, but it's possible I don't know. Thank you.
Maraming salamat po, Sir Sebastian. Ang liyong po, napakaganda po ng words of wisdom ni Sir. Totoo po na yun po ang pinakamahirap na trabaho ng isang katulad ko. Alam niyo po, pagka pinag-usapan po natin lahat, ang batas, saligang batas, ang hirap